You are watching the vodka stream.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Boop. There we go. This time I was muted on here. Jeez. Yeah, muted again. Yeah, I was just joking. What's happening, guys? Now we're good. Yeah, that's right. Because every time I come back from an interview, I always have the thing muted and stuff. So, but what's happening, guys? How you guys doing? All right, there's everybody. How you doing? Who's out there? What's going on, Mr. Bradley? How you doing? We got Nick here. I had to wait here, Steven. Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of wondering what Steven's takes on it. Of course, what's going on, Jason? Hey, thank you for joining the page. I got the message. You just became a patron, so thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Every little bit helps. Mr. Will Morris, how you doing? Mortal. I don't know if you saw what. Yeah, I saw the tweet that Louis Tan actually retweeted and commented on. That was fairly interesting. What's going on, Lakazoo? How you doing? Lakazoo. I've done. How's it going? Happy Friday. Where are the numbers? What's going on, Sco? And we got Mr. Worldwide here. Prestige Worldwide. Why, thank you, Katsuka. Appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. So, yeah. What's going on, Mr. Fear Jason? How you doing? Yeah, I know. I think we all saw that little tweet right there. It was kind of interesting. It's like, oof, careful. Don't want to get canceled. Don't want to get canceled, Mr. Tan. Hey, there's Mama Film Junkie. How you doing? Here she is. Let's see. This is the vodka stream you've been waiting for. Good. That's what it's all about. This is the vodka stream you're waiting for. Yes. Happy Friday. How's it going? How's everybody doing? Everybody's like slowly making. I tell you what, today has been weird when it comes to the live chat. It's been going slower than usual, and I haven't done anything. So, very interesting why that is happening. But so, yeah. Genuinely cannot believe I made it. Hey, you're ready. Just ease up. Drink some water. A little bit of water in between, Jess. A little between the glasses of wine. Because I saw what you said. You said you usually don't make it. Because that wine will sneak up on you. I had some wine earlier, and it was delicious. Yes, it was. All right. So, what's going on, Mr. Powell? How you doing? Anyways, all right, guys. Yeah. How's the new job? The new job's good, man. Like I said, it's going pretty well. It's I like the fact that, I literally can wake up 5 minutes before I have to start and just, yay, here I am. Commute all the way from the bed to the computer. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Stephanie. How you doing? All right. Yeah, but the new job's going very well. But, still has its struggles. Still has its, this week was kind of, the thing that I was working on was kind of a struggle. So it kind of, made my mind go a little bit. So, I wish the cam was closer to you. Yeah. Yeah. I should. I know, like some people, everybody has the camera closer, but I figured I had to be like somewhat different or something like that. Just gotta, and the closer it gets to me, the uglier it gets. So that's what it really is. That's what it really is. How dare you say go Dodgers, Mom? Jeez, come on now. At least the Giants tied the game. They're tied right now, which I should still have on. I should have it on in the background. Oh yeah, but cheers, guys. Welcome to another Friday, of course, and I'll bring my guest in here shortly. And I appreciate, of course, you guys clicking in as per usual. Make sure you hit that like, thumbs up. Make sure you hit that notification. Subscribe if you have not already. If you want to become a member, of course, hit the member button. Hit the join button, I should say, and join Film Junkie. then, of course, if you want to join the Patreon, I should say, not the, you become a patron if you join the Patreon. You could do that as well. And then, of course, if you want to head to the Film Junkie Closet, got some merchandise in there. I actually been working on some shirts, some new designs. Oops, not that. That's Twitter. That's not what I wanted. Shared the wrong screen. No, but if and I got to put the background in too. Let's see. I'm just a mess right now. Here we go. That's what I was looking for. But yeah, if you want to head into the closet, get yourself some merchandise. Like I said, I'm going to be rearranging some things, probably remove the ones that aren't really doing much, but I have a couple more designs. I got 3 short shirts that are going to be headed in there. So expect those soon. Just little things I was just working on this past week and everything. So make sure you do that. And those shirts, like I said, I always like, anytime that I do a shirt design, I always like to get it sent to me first to make sure it looks good before I send it out into the wild. So we'll do that anyways. But so look forward to that. And of course, everybody's talking about Mortal Kombat, of course. Dave, the Giants took 2 of 3 from your Phillies. That's right. They're doing good. They're doing good. Just saying. It's pretty crazy. Like, I was worried about the Giants, I was thinking, it's just going to be another season building or another team building year because, they still have a relatively new manager and all that stuff. But, they're actually looking pretty damn good, I must say. They're actually looking good. I'm surprised. I've been meaning to look up the standings. I know they're behind the Dodgers still. But, But they're doing pretty good. I'm actually pretty proud of how they're playing baseball right now. As long as they stay healthy, it's those damn injuries. That's what happens. That's exactly what happens. What are you saying, Jose? What are you saying? Thank you for the donation, sir. Yeah, I was gonna tweet it, but then I got lazy. Your shirt arrived the other day. Thanks again. You should have, man. Come on, you should have. Should have tweeted the shirt, man. So because that's like free advertising. That's why I sent it to you. Man, come on. Tweet the shirt. See what it looks like. Make sure it looks good. Let's make sure it looks good. Boop. Oh man. My guest was backstage, and all of a sudden he disappeared. So hopefully not having technical difficulties. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. Anyone see the IGN Snyder Cut video? I didn't see that. Was that released today? Released the Snyder Cut video? Yeah, tweet it tomorrow. There you go, buddy. I mean, that's why I sent it to you. Come on now. All right, let me set my tweet up. Boop. Okay. They got him too. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and bring my guest in. Has joined the stream. All right. There we go. All right. So a lot of you are, of course, familiar with my guest. He's worked with Joe Blow, of course, for a long time, which we'll be talking about. And he's just all around good dude. And even recently, he showed off the fact that he was on the Army of the Dead set, which was really cool. But let's all welcome Mr. Paul Shirey. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Long time coming. How you doing?
Yeah, for sure.
I know a lot of people are like, hey, where do you get Paul Shirey? I'm like, yeah, I know. He's on the list. And finally, it's like, all right, now is a perfect time to do it. So I appreciate you coming on the Vodka stream. Welcome to the Vodka Stream Lounge. Are you drinking anything tonight?
If I'm not drinking vodka, am I in trouble? Because I'm having whiskey. Yeah. I'm having a whiskey sour. So
that's perfectly fine.
Rules or protocol.
I don't discriminate. Like there'll be some times where I'm not even drinking vodka. I'll be drinking bourbon. I'll be drinking wine or something like that. So any drinks. Right, cool. I mean, and I am
drinking.
That's all that matters. So. That's all that matters. As long as you're having a drink, that's good. I mean, even sometimes I'll be like, hey, even if you're drinking some, water or Kool-Aid or something, that's fine. It's whatever, So, but yeah, I don't discriminate on the drink. So, cheers. Thank you for joining, sir.
Cheers. You're here.
All right. So, you can find, of course, you follow him at Arctic Ninja Paul. Where'd that name originate from?
I was a paratrooper with the 501st here in
That's
Alaska. And basically it's an Arctic paratrooper unit, even though we just basically train in the Arctic, but we fight in the desert. So there's that for you.
Nice.
But basically, when you kind of cut your teeth in that unit and you do the Arctic warfare training, everybody always just, the term Arctic Ninja gets tossed around a lot. It's like, oh, you want to be an Arctic Ninja? You're about to be an Arctic Ninja. And I really just kind of adopted the term. And I used to draw like my version of the Arctic Ninja all over the place.
Nice.
And it ended up just kind of becoming my thing. I really just kind of stole it from them. They still use it, but I stole it. And that's just kind of been like my terms, like I'm an Arctic Ninja and I still live in Alaska. So the term fits. So I just continue to utilize it. So that's the origin of the Arctic Ninja right there.
Yeah, when I was looking, I was like, "Oh, that's right. You live in Alaska." I mean, we have obviously a frequent, Chris Wong Swinson. He lives in Hawaii, so that's why when I hit you up, I'm like, "Oh, this should be okay," because he's actually an hour behind this time. Because usually, I always have to worry about, people live on the East Coast. They're like, "Oh man, that's 11 o'clock my time," and I'm like, "Yeah, can you do it?"
Yeah, it's always been weird when I worked for Joe Blow and like working with reps and for studios and stuff like that.
Yeah,
most of them came to know that I lived in Alaska, but it was always like, oh, I'm in Alaska. They're like, oh, you're in Alaska. It's always a thing. And I was like, yes, it's just an hour earlier than PST, so it's not that big.
You could also find his podcast, The Beard and the Ball, that you do with your partner Chris Bumbray right there. Yeah,
Chris Brundle Bumbray.
Yeah.
Thanks for the comments, by the way, on your chat. Comments for the room. I see some familiar faces in there. So hello to everyone. I see all you guys. I'm watching the comments as you go. So
there you go. Yeah. It's nothing but love here in the Vodka Stream comments. But so how's everything going, man? I mean, you recently just finally, after how long you did that set visit for Army of the Dead, you got to release that, and I had to use that image right there. I thought it was a great image, even though it was like a year and a half old. I was like, right. Whatever.
Taken by the great Clay Enos.
Exactly.
Yeah. He was on the set and they kind of pulled everybody aside and they're like, hey, you guys want to take some pictures? I was like, fuck yeah, I want to take some pictures. Like, I'm on Army of the Dead set, please.
Yeah.
So you can see, Stephen Colbert, he's got some, and Sean O'Connell's, because they were there as well. And, but that was really cool, just to have Clay Enos taking your picture. That's pretty dope. So I really like that. But yeah, it was October 2019.
That's right. Yeah. Because I remember I talked to Steven, a lot. He's kind of a buddy, and he told me that he was that happened. And of course, I keep it to yourself and everything. It was just amazing how long that had to stay under wraps, like for so long.
Yeah.
And then finally this week, you guys got to show that off in the interviews and the videos and all that stuff. How was it? What was the set like? From your perspective, just awesome, just amazing.
It was cool. So we went to the Showboat Hotel, which is ultimately it's not a casino hotel, it's just a hotel, and they cleared off an entire space that was just for them that they could use, and they put up these big black tarps. So I made a video on my YouTube channel, you guys can check out, of the set visit, where you can see, like, I actually snuck over there after the set visit was over and took some video, because the hotel was open to guests. But, you could go over there as anybody and just film. I couldn't go in the set, back on the set. But I was like, well, here they are shooting. So they had these big black cloaks covering the set, and they built this entire convention floor into an actual casino, because again, it's not a casino hotel. So they brought in the machines, they brought in the card playing area and everything, and just built this massive casino. The only difference is that it's riddled with bullet casings, bullet shells, and chips, and tons of dead zombie bodies just scattered everywhere. Some of them hanging from the rafters were just like somebody committed suicide and they'd been there for years. So it was pretty wild. It was a hell of a thing to see. Like, just walking in there, you're just like, wow, this is nuts.
Seriously. I mean, yeah, just from all your guys' coverage of it. And then just listening to the interviews too with like Dave Bautista and Zack Snyder. Is there a little bit of an echo here? Echo.
There might be. I'm going to plug in my headphones because I don't know if that'll make a difference.
Maybe. Yeah, for some reason, like, yeah, with my microphone, I don't know why I don't ever get any back feed. So, but yeah, sometimes there might be. All right, we're good now. Yeah, echo. Okay, we're good. Yep, we're good. No, but yeah, just listening to the coverage and reading like Steven's interviews with like Batista and Snyder. How was talking to Zack Snyder? Just a great dude, huh?
Talking to Zack was amazing. So we saw him working on the set, and he was, just doing his thing, directing everybody. And, you never really know when you're going to talk to people. So you kind of have to, there's a lot of waiting around on set visits.
Oh yeah.
They may seem like, oh man, it's going to be like so sexy and awesome. But yeah, it's a lot of waiting around. And we ended up waiting till lunch, and they're like, okay, you guys are going to go to lunch. So, you typically eat lunch with everybody else. So you go to the craft services and you have lunch. And we sat down, and all of us are just kind of sitting there bullshitting and talking. And then this tray slaps down, and Zack Snyder sits down. He's got a plate full of greens and some protein, and we're all just like, holy shit, Zack's eating lunch with us. So he sits down and just
see, I knew he was a keto guy. Anyway,
yeah, totally. So just nonchalantly, he's just sitting there like he's one of the crew, like, okay, guys, hey, how's it going? Yeah. And just starts eating, and we're all like, oh shit. Like now you see everybody immediately reaching for their recorders, whatever device they're using. It's just like, oh shit. So everybody's putting their recording devices out so we can talk to Zack and make sure we're recording because you don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And it was great, and I know a lot of us were very excited to chat with him because it had been radio silence from Zack since Justice League. Yeah. Nobody had heard from him outside of the Snyder Con. And, he spoke, to everybody in the crowd. And I know he talked to people individually, but, there had been no written interviews or anything published with him post Justice League. It had been years since anybody had really, really heard from him. So I know myself and Steven and Sean were all very eager to talk to him because we wanted to talk about Justice League at the time. Because you got to remember, at this time, there is no Zack Snyder's Justice League. There is no HBO Max premiere or anything. So it's all very new at this point, or very, still kind of lingering. And it was great to get his perspective and to hear what he thought. And the truth is, talking to him on that set visit is what changed my perspective on Justice League, on his cut of the Justice League. So, I wasn't always like a hoo-hoo, rah-rah, like release the Snyder Cut guy. I was like, dude, I'd love to see it if they ever release it. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
But talking to Zack and hearing his passion, and the fact that he really did feel like a part of his filmography was missing. It just sounded like very much that he was enthused and that he was inspired by what people were doing. He was inspired by the movement, and I felt that. So I thought that was very interesting, and I thought that was cool, and it was just great to hear that he didn't want it to just die and go away, and that's where, for me, it changed. I was like, all right, so Zack is all about this, and there's something there. I always knew that there was a cut. I knew it wasn't finished, but it sounded like he really did want to get it out there, and that he had a desire for that. And man, it's like I wrote in my set visit piece, I wish I could go back in time to that moment and be like, well, Zack, it's going to happen.
No,
like, that would have been cool.
Worries. Yeah, I know. And you said that was back in October of 2019. And I think like a month later, they actually started, there started to be discussions because that's when they had the big push for hashtag release the Snyder Cut in November of that year. That's crazy. So you guys were there right on the cusp of like the negotiations about to just really start. That's pretty awesome stuff right there. Yeah. And then like you said, that's how casual the guy is. I mean, just to sit down. Very casual. Yeah. I mean, that's
very down to earth.
Yes.
Very, what's the best way to describe it? I mean, he just feels like he's just very, very chill. I know we kind of throw that term around a lot, but he's soft-spoken in many ways, but you can just feel that there's a lot going on in his head, and that, he's got a lot to say, but he's very tactful about what he says too. Like, and I appreciated that. it was, you know, it was really just a tremendous experience being able to hear his perspective, to hear what he had felt. That was, for me, amazing. And I wanted to share it immediately. Like, I think I transcribed that interview like 2 nights later, because I was like, man, like, how soon can I get this out there? You know, and now it's like the interview is coming out long after, you know, Justice League has come out. And
a month after.
Yeah, and he's done multiple interviews with multiple venues at this point. But I think it's even more interesting reading it now because you kind of see where his headspace was. And both he and Debbie were very, very receptive to the movement. And I think they appreciated it. And there you have it. I think it, you know, their respect for that movement, I think, also helped it happen because, you know, they embraced it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's almost like Zach kind of knew, like, okay, you know, I got a fan base here. They're doing great things. You know, let me just give them little nuggets of things and see what happens. And I think that's just what kind of just built it up over the last, you know, 3 years. It was just, hey, let me drop this. And then it just blows up. Drop that, blows up, you know, blows up. And then it just eventually just led to the whole thing. And then now that it's out, then all of a sudden it's just, now we got Restore the SnyderVerse. And it's just 1.5 million tweets. And I mean, who would have thought that? I don't think he would have thought that either. He just thought, yeah, do it. And then there it happened.
Well, it's like he said, you know, the movie itself is a bit of a social experiment.
Yeah.
And anything could happen at this point. I know people are somewhat dissuaded by, you know, this market call recently and a numbers release that, Justice League didn't, you know, like, you know, crush HBO subscriptions. I don't think that it's fair to even hold it to that scrutiny because I don't think that was ever going to happen, to be honest with you. Especially for a movie that was, you know, already, you know, fairly old and people just didn't understand what it was. For what it is and for it happening, I think is well enough a movement in the right direction. Yeah. And I think that's something that, you know, that's enough to go off of. And HBO Max subscriptions did go up. You know, it's attributed to a lot of things, but Zack Snyder's Justice League certainly didn't hurt that. It helped one way or another.
It definitely did. I mean, I even said it last night because, you know, I was trying to make heads or tails of the numbers, which we always like to say, like in a Brian Regan voice. It's like, you see the numbers come out and you see, you know, one half of the fucking Twitter going, oh yeah, look at these. They're abysmal. They're horrible, horrible, horrible. And then you see another half going, no, these are actually pretty good if you compare them like this. And you look at this or his growth right here. It's all sounding good. So I was trying to make heads or tails of it. And I decided, all right, I'm just going to do like a little audio talk thing and try to make heads or tails of it. And I mean, we're in such new territory when it comes to this stuff, you know, I think because now with the pandemic and what HBO Max is doing with the simultaneous release, it's like you can't just gauge it by how did it do at the box office. Let's go to Box Office Mojo right now and see what happened. You can't really do that. You just got to be, okay, I don't know how much money it made, but we got, and the fact that they haven't released like the actual full on numbers on like how well it did, the spikes, everything like it, that's what's boggling to all of us.
Well, and they don't have to. That's the thing. You know, and the difference between streaming versus theatrical, Netflix, HBO Max, they don't have to release anything.
You know what? That's true because sometimes when shows get canceled on Netflix, you're like, why? And they don't ever really tell you, and then just go, no, they're just canceled. Yeah, and
the views could have been fine. It could be a budgetary issue. It could be like, well, we really just can't afford to make that show anymore. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. Yeah. And you know, you really don't know. And streaming is so early. I think that's something that people forget in terms of looking at numbers. Is that, you know, we're in the Wild West right now. This isn't something that's been around for decades. This is a very new method of delivering films and series. Mm-hmm. And we don't really have a firm grasp on how these numbers play out. You know, certainly it's very indicative when you see something like, say, Stranger Things, right? That's now a flagship show for Netflix. But in terms of something like Zack Snyder's Justice League, listen, it was never, I don't think it was ever going to be something that was like going to, you know, truly just like bring the house down. But it's definitely something that has made noise. And I think it will continue to make noise. I talked to like a neighbor of mine who's just like, you know, we know tons, all of us here, people on the chat and everything, everybody knows like very casual fans, right? We all have friends, neighbors that are just casual fans. They're not crazy like we are. We're all fucking crazy.
Yeah, we
Like,
are.
They're not crazy, right? They're just normal people. But I talk to these normal people. They're like, dude, did you? And they know who I am because I'm just like the big nerd that lives next door. They're like, bro, did you see Zack Snyder's Justice League? Like, they're like, how do you not make more? Like, what are they going to make more? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I hope. Like, we'll see. But I think there's a passion there to see more from your average viewer that can't be ignored.
That's what's weird. And to try to quantify that is kind of difficult because, these aren't the people you could quantify 1.5 million tweets. But I mean, of course, you have the diehard fans that are just every 2 seconds or retweeting something, tweeting something. Yeah, you have that. But then you have, I always yell out, Brad Paisley. Tweet it out. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. I mean, it's just
so crazy.
That was the most random one. I think that's why I keep on going back to it because he's got 5 million followers. He's just, he's a country star. You see him occasionally with Peyton Manning on a commercial, and he just flat out just goes hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And it's just that right there is so random. And, last week, and I had people over, none of them had seen it. It's 3 people. All right, I'm putting it on. I'm making you watch it. They thanked me afterwards. They're like, wow, that was awesome. That was 4 hours. What the fuck? It is 2:00 in the morning. How is that possible? I'm like, yeah, because we were drinking a lot of wine and we were watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. It just breezed right through. And they loved it. It's crazy.
I see that time and again. And for me, the craziest thing that I never would have anticipated is that Zack Snyder's Justice League has become a comfort film. Everybody has those comfort films, right? The ones that you can put on anytime at any point in the movie and just watch. Zack Snyder's Justice League has become that, and I never anticipated it. My co-host on Beer and the Bald, Chris Bumber, is like giving me shit. He's like, how many times have you watched it? And I was like, I don't know, like 8 times. He's like, 8 times? And I was like, dude, it's so easy to put on and just let it play.
Is.
Not that I'm paying full attention the whole time, because it's a lot of time it's like I'm going to put on Zack Snyder's Justice League while I do this or that.
Yeah,
and it's like it's a great background movie. If you're not sitting in like just devouring every second, it's a great background movie. You take little breaks and you just sit in for 15-20 minutes, go back to doing what you're doing. I love it, and people do this for shows, right? They put on TV shows and they just play episode by episode by episode by episode. Zack Snyder's Justice League is no different. It's a 6-chapter series. It's all smushed together. It's that, it's just easy. It's an easy watch.
Yeah, it's pure comfort food. I mean, that's what I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, I've seen it probably 14, 15 times now, and it's just every time, it, like I said, it just blows right by. It just absolutely blows right by. And so anyways, so we'll get back to that talk right now. I actually wanted to, let's get to know Paul a little bit more. So Alaska, how long have you lived in Alaska?
Since 2002, I was stationed here, like I said, for the 501st, which is a parachute infantry regiment here in Alaska. So I graduated basic training and I just got stationed here. I'd actually chosen. So back then when I had joined the Army, you can go on your Army account, your personal account, and you could choose like what your preferences are for duty assignments. And I was like, man, Alaska? When am I ever going to go to Alaska? Like I'm putting that shit as my first choice. Nice. And I was in airborne school and I had graduated airborne school. I had no idea where I was going to go from there, because that would be my first duty assignment. And I got out there like my sergeant airbornes, they thought they were like punishing me. They're like, Shirey, come here. You want to know where you're going? I was like, yeah, Roger that, Sergeant Airborne. And they're like, you're going to Alaska. And I was like, so happy. I was like, oh, Roger that, Sergeant Airborne. Like, oh, shit. But really, I was like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. So that was it. That's I came up here and I got out in 2012.
Yeah.
And, they would pay for me to move back. And I was from Chicago at the time, but I didn't want to move back to Chicago. So I just stayed here. I didn't, it's not that I love Alaska per se. It just kind of became my home. And I was like, I don't want to go back to Chicago. I'll stay here. So
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Chicago, do you have to deal with the whole, like, isn't like the sun up that part of it when it comes to Alaska, the sun's like up all day or all the day?
We have a longer a longer daylight period as we get into the summer solstice and the spring equinox, and as it goes throughout that whole cycle, you have, so basically in December, about roughly December 23rd, you have the winter solstice, and the winter solstice you have 24 hours of darkness, and then from there you gain 5 minutes of daylight per day until you get to the summer solstice, which is roughly June 23rd, 24th, where you get 24 hours of daylight, and then it goes right back to the darkness period. So that's the cycle that we have on an annual basis, since we're so high up on the northern hemisphere, and that's where the weather stuff comes. But right now it's fucking majestic. And I'm so happy that spring is here. The snow is finally melted, and holy crap, I opened my grill back up. I made burgers on the grill tonight, and it was
Nice.
paradise, man. Like, I've been dying. I just been dying. We basically get 6 months of straight winter, and it sucks ass. I fucking hate it.
I don't think I could do that. Being a California person, I mean, I've been in California all my life. Yeah, I don't do well with the cold. Not really at all. But
That's why I'm an Arctic Ninja, so I can deal
there
with
it is.
That doesn't mean I like it.
Yes.
It doesn't mean I like it. I can just deal with it.
And how long did you work with Joe Blow?
I was with Joe Blow for 8 years. I left last year so that I could focus on my own projects. I'm working on a graphic novel called The War Scars right now, which is has roots in my own military experience, but it's ultimately a fictional tale, and I'm very excited about that. And I should have chapter 1 out this summer. So that was a huge thing. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to have time to do this. And if I stay with Joe Blow full time, I'm never going to finish this book. So I just kind of made that choice. Sometimes you got to make a leap, a leap of faith, a leap of chance, whatever you want to call it. And I've been doing that. And then COVID hit. COVID hit right around the time I quit, and I ended up having to homeschool my kid. So that's kind of become my part-time job too, but he's going to go back to regular school in the fall. Nice. But I was with Joe Blow for 8 years, and it was a hell of a ride. I love Joe Blow. I love the site. I love the people that work there. There's no bad blood, no ill will. I wasn't forced out or anything like that. It was just a situation where I kind of rose as far as I could go. I was the editor-in-chief. There was no position I could go any higher, and I had kind of just exhausted that resource at that point. I was like, it's time for the next thing. So here I am now. Just, I do things on my own. I'm never going to not comment on film.
Yeah.
I was writing about film. I kept film journals before there was an internet. Before we were logging onto the internet, I was keeping film journals and basically creating my own little website books before there were websites. Like, that's how crazy I've been about film, and just my passion for film as an art form and as entertainment has been so long lasting. So, whether I'm working for a site or I'm just on my own, I'm always going to be commenting on film. I'm always going to talk about it. I'm always going to be interested in it. Which, brings me here today. Of course, I enjoy it. I love the passion. I love the fandom. I'm a fan. Like, I'm just like everybody else here. Everybody in the chat, I am just like all of you guys. Like, I am just a fan. And I got fucking lucky as shit one day and got a job at JoeBlow.com. I had applied once to be a DVD reviewer, and I didn't get the gig. And the Joe Blow himself, Burge, was like, yeah, man, hey, it was pretty good, but you didn't get it. And I was like, cool, no worries. And I tried out again the second time, and as a news editor, and I got the gig. And within a year, I was editor-in-chief, which was amazing. And I saw it nothing but a blessing. It was a beautiful experience. It informed me so much about the way Hollywood works, the way the news works, the way information travels between Hollywood and the news, and ultimately being able to go on sets and junkets and things like that. It's a dream come true for a nerd like me. Like, it was amazing. And it's a something that I carry with me forever. So
I know. I was right there with you. I remember when early on in trying to download. It sounds like there's an echo again. I'm hearing like a little bit of an echo. Are you echoing? Are you hearing any echo, Paul?
I don't hear any echo.
Anybody hear an echo? Maybe there's just, I don't know. StreamYard's been kind of weird and glitchy lately, so I don't know what the heck's been going on. Anyways, but no, I'm right there with you, because I remember, when trailers came out and, downloading them, on my dial-up connection and playing them on the QuickTime player where it's just, you're just like, yes, look at this. You got the new Batman, or Batman and Robin. I remember, and then going into chat rooms and going into movie chat rooms and trying to find scripts or something like that and download scripts. And I remember downloading a script called, for Terminator 3 Armageddon. And it was ridiculous. It didn't, I mean, at the time it sounded cool. Like, oh, they're going to have a plasma Terminator. It's not going to be liquid metal. It's going to be plasma, which, I think that kind of ended up being true after a little bit with some of the recent sequels. But I used to do that stuff too. And I remember one of the first websites I went to was called upcomingmovies.com, where I'd always go there because they seemed to have a lick on everything. They had a lick on the movies for the next decade. Turns out they were full of shit, of course. But it was just kind of like, that was my kind of in. And then then when everything started really moving, and then it was like comingsoon.net, it was starting to, your Joe Blows, your Screen Rants, and then it started really. And then when I dove into, the technology side of the internet, I was still kind of doing this whole thing. And I mean, it's just, it is kind of weird. I mean, like you said, sometimes you could just land a job and just, that's crazy. And then sometimes you just got to build it up on your own. I actually appreciate the fact that you were like, you know what, I'm going to walk away from this. Like you said, you exhausted all that. Let me just do my own thing. And I mean, that's what you got to do sometimes when, you just got to keep moving forward. So
you really do. And I think you got to make, you got to make the most of your time. And, you want to make sure that you're getting, that you're advancing yourself. That's just who I am. I never wanted to get comfortable in anything and just be like, oh, I'll just do this. But in the end, it's like, you want to challenge yourself. You want to see what you're capable of. And, I just had other ambitions in terms of other projects that I wanted to do. I don't want to just be a consumer. I want to be a producer and a consumer. Yeah. So, I want to make stuff for people and, I want to consume it just the same, but I think we all kind of feed into that same ecosystem, and that's what I want to do, is just be a part of that. So,
how long have you been, like drawing things and,
since I could pick up a crayon,
pretty much. Okay. I was about to say,
yeah. My whole life I've been drawing, and then I used to make comic books on lined notebook paper, like in the 4th grade and 5th grade and 6th grade. And in high school, I was making comics and copying them and selling them. And so it's just always been an endeavor. I love comics. I love the medium. I think it's just brilliant. It's a brilliant art form. It's like one of the few art forms. It's like that middle gap between books and movies. Yeah. And that's what I love about comics. And I always have, I always will. I go to the comic shop every week still. And it's, I don't know, maybe it's out of habit at this point. I don't know if I could ever just quit, at this point, but I just love comics. I think it's a tremendous medium, and obviously Hollywood has taken note. It's more of a cash cow for Hollywood at this point, but there's tremendous stories out there, many that still haven't been adapted. And if I can contribute one small piece to that, that would be amazing. That would be it. That would be, and it's gonna happen. Like it's unless I'm struck by lightning and I die tomorrow, like it's gonna happen. I'm well into the book, and I'm excited for people to see it. And I'm, at the same time, I'm still excited to talk movies and to hear what people have to say and to share my little hot takes on what I see and what I feel and watch as the industry unfolds, which I've been watching like a hawk since before the internet existed. So, that's never going away.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, and I like what you said about how it is that medium between books and movies, because, a lot of people can maybe just go, oh, you're just reading a comic book, It's like, well, I mean, some of these stories are really good. I mean, I have a buddy of mine, one of my really good friends. He reads a lot of books. And then, for a while, I just know him, and it's like he just has like a new book every week. And then all of a sudden, one night, he just busts out a box full of fucking comic books, Batman comic books, Spider-Man comic books. And I'm like, you motherfucker, you didn't tell me that you were this. He's like, yeah, I used to be an avid comic book collector. I'm like, see, I knew it. I had a feeling. I mean, I've known you this was like probably like 5 or 6 years into our friendship. And all of a sudden he's letting me know. And I'm like, and then he goes, that's why as a book reader, you always respected the fact that I was into comic books. Cause he would always be like, yeah, it's cool, man. Because, you know, I mean, it's essentially a book, you know, there's a story. And especially when you get actually like the full on graphic novel part of it, where it's actually like a thick book where, you know, and some of those pages are just absolutely gorgeous that are drawn. And yeah, I mean, you know, when it comes to, and I've said this before, and you know, some people go, "How dare you, sir?" And then of course they're like, "Off with his head. He's not a true Snyder fan." I'm like, hey, if the Snyderverse ends up continuing in graphic novel form, I would actually, if that's the only way we were going to get the rest of what Snyder wanted, I would actually be okay with that. If HBO Max and Sarnoff is like, no, which it sounds like that's the case, even though, you know, we'll still remain optimistic, you know, with everything. But I think if he were to continue, because, you know, Snyder is very much, I mean, he pieces all his, everybody, I mean, one of the comic
everything's storyboarded.
Yes. I mean, just watching, especially Zack Snyder's his Justice League, I saw a lot of reviews where people go like, yeah, you know what? I mean, you could literally just pause it and look, oh yeah, you could see that in a page. You could see that in a page. I mean, he very much does that. So, I mean, if that were to continue on there, if that was the only way we can get it, I would be like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't call that even a worst case scenario. I'd call that a cool case scenario. Obviously, we would want to see Zack's film or whatever form it took, but imagine a Zack Snyder scripted graphic novel with, say, somebody like Jim Lee or something drawing it. Like,
that's what we all would. Yes.
I mean, shit. All right.
Well, I mean,
you're not gonna make the movie.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I mean, obviously, yeah. Like you said, we want the live content, but you know, it's just everything's so up in the air right now. And it's one of the things I was talking about last night. Is, I mean, Zack's not going to wait around. He's not going to wait around. I mean, you met the guy. You know how he is. He's boom, 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 boom. He's got ideas on top of ideas on top of ideas. The guy is constantly just coming up with ideas. He's got this whole new world that he's building over at Netflix. He's got another franchise he's going to be pitching. Also, he's got that Norse God stuff, and then he's got this little movie that he's going to be doing called, you know, Horse Latitudes. It's like he's not going to be waiting around. So that's the thing. So that's why whatever happens when it comes to the Snyderverse, I'm all about with, okay, if Zack is just, he doesn't have to be like the full-on captain of the ship, but if he has people that he trusts that can run that as he's doing other things and still has a little bit touching, whether it's graphic novels, whether it is they decide to move forward and do like a series thing and he doesn't have to direct it all or anything like that. I'm like, come on, there you go. I mean, we got to be like a little reasonable with the man, you know?
Yeah, and you know, Zack is going to continue to work. All the actors involved in Justice League are going to continue to work. They have careers that they have to maintain. They can't just sit around. And ultimately, it's going to take, you know, Warner Brothers or HBO Max calling Zack.
Yep.
Zack's not going to call them.
They don't want
they're going to have to call him. And until he hears from them, he's going to continue doing what he does. And he should. I would rather Zack just to continue to work rather than him sit on his hands and do nothing. We're losing out on an artist's work in that way. So, you know, I'm here for whatever Zack does. Of course, absolutely, I want to see the Snyderverse continue. I've wanted to see more of the Snyderverse since I first saw the trailer for Batman v Superman, and I knew that a Robin was dead and that we had this historical aspect of the DC universe established. Yeah. We were no longer starting at ground zero. I personally loved that. I was like, fuck, thank God. Now we can just get into these stories, you know? I don't have to like start. I don't got to watch another damn Batman origin story. Like, thank you. But you know, that's a tougher sell for studios. Yeah. You know what else? It's a tougher studio for the comics industry. They're rebooting their comics sometimes every year, sometimes every 3 to 4 years with new number ones, with some kind of reboot, revamp, whatever. The days of letting these tales last for over hundreds of issues are over, because now it's a marketing thing. Now it's like, how do we get new readers into a comic shop to buy a number one? Everybody wants a number one. And I feel like, you know, that kind of thing kind of makes its way over into the comic movie universe, not just at DC, but also at Marvel. You know, today they're talking about, we're going to make a Captain America 4. This is no different than the comics. They revamped Captain America and made Sam Wilson Captain America. It lasted like 30 issues or something, maybe less. And then Steve Rogers was back wielding the shield. It's all marketing. That's all it is. It's marketing. It's not necessarily, we're just following the lineage of the story. They're just saying, okay, what's going to get people in? Yeah. Let's do this. Let's change it up dramatically. But it's not about preserving that history anymore. It's about just getting butts in seats or people in the comic shop.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm kind of curious when it comes to Marvel. And I was even thinking about today when I was watching the season finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's like, when it's first revealed, and I don't know if I even have to say spoilers. It was all over Twitter. I don't think anybody could avoid it. We all kind of knew that Sam was eventually going to be the Falcon, Captain America, and he was going to get the costume and stuff like that. It was all over Twitter. I had to ignore Twitter because I had to work and I still hadn't watched. It was funny. Anytime I had to post anything on Twitter, I literally had to look directly at my cursor. I had to look directly at my cursor and be like, don't look at anything else. Don't look at what's trending. Don't look and just, post whatever I needed to post and then walk away because I knew I was going to get something spoiled. And, but when I was watching that today, there was like a found respect to Kevin Feige and the MCU. And I know maybe some people are like, how dare you, sir? It's like, come on. But anyways, the fact that they've taken it to this level, the fact that they haven't rebooted anything yet, they're continuing on with this. And you know what? I actually really enjoyed Captain and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I was not expecting to, because for some reason, I think I was just kind of, oh yeah, that's coming out now, because it was supposed to come out before WandaVision, didn't happen. And then WandaVision came out. That was really intriguing. Kind of, with that whole Ralph Boner thing, kind of really just put a boner on the whole thing with me a little bit, just a little bit, not like fully. It was still a good series, but I was kind of going, okay, well, what is Falcon and the Winter Soldier going to give me? And you know what, to be honest, I mean, even though the season finale, there was a little things I was kind of like, maybe I don't like that necessarily, but overall, I actually did. What I really appreciate is how they've continued to move forward with certain characters. They're not going, okay, we got to reboot Steve Rogers again, see what happens. Let's get somebody else in there. They're not really quick to do that. That's what I'm actually liking when you're talking about.
Well, that makes one of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I pretty much hated Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and
shit.
I am a huge Winter Soldier fan. I've been a huge fan since the comics when he was introduced. I actually literally have his introduction CGC comic graded in front of me.
Nice.
I'm a huge fan of the Winter Soldier. I thought he was a great character in the comics, and I was like, no way we'll ever see this in the films. And then it happened. I was like, holy shit! And then the Russos knocked it out of the park. I was like, damn. I did not care for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I felt like they just did not capitalize on the characters. The show was pretty much about anything and everything but the Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me. So, and so Spencer Perry from Comic Book made a comment. He was like, so pretty much all the Marvel shows are just you introduce it and then at the end they get a new costume and that's pretty much all it is. It's like it's the series that shows how they get their new costume in between movies. And, Falcon and Winter Soldiers did not come together to me. I felt it was very poorly paced. The action to me was just not up to snuff. And it just didn't feel like a superhero movie. It felt more like a message series, which is fine, but that's not how they marketed it, if that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it did not come across to me as a genuine comic series. And I ended up liking John Walker better than the two people the show is about. Just for me, growing up reading about U.S. Agent and John Walker in the comics, I was like, man, that's fucking cool. But I did not care for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It didn't work for me pretty much on any level.
Wow.
Yeah, just didn't happen. And what's funny is I was very excited for this show as a huge Winter Soldier fan. But Winter Soldier's he's basically a thug in the show. He's basically second tier. They introduced his big this story thing for him, this background thing. and then you never hear about it again for like 4 episodes.
They kind of walked away from his little list thing.
Yeah, and then they get at the end, they're like, he finished this list, and he told this dude that he killed his kid. That's it. The end. We're good. We're good.
That was one of my issues with the season finale. They brushed past that way too quickly, and I was like, yeah, I still haven't given my review out, but like I said, when it comes to the season finale, I was kind of, there's certain things where I was kind of, there's things I liked, but then there were certain things that was particularly like how they just kind of, bam, hey, guess what, list, and hey, sorry about your son, then it was just kind of like, okay, you kind of built this up.
It was fairly anticlimactic too. I mean,
it was a little bit.
It was, I just feel like if your main character has a wingsuit by the end of the movie, they're going to end it with a big speech, just like Wonder Woman 84. So it's like, I guess that's the new hotness is, put on your wingsuit and give a speech, and that was it. So it didn't work for me. I was like, there was no cool battle. They tried to get us to sympathize with villains that were terrorists. I was like, and then Sam's like, hey, don't call them terrorists. They're misunderstood. And I'm like, they're killing people, and you killed like 10 terrorists at the beginning of the first episode. So why don't you just shut up and sit down? Just didn't make sense to me. It was like, it was nonsense, and it was very contradictory. So no, I don't think the writing in that show is as strong as people give it credit for.
Yeah, it's not as strong as it hopefully should be. But it's funny too, because I was not looking forward to the show really at all. And then I ended up enjoying it. You were looking forward to it, and you didn't enjoy it. So that's just
and it was like, and with WandaVision, it's the opposite. I was like, oh God, I guess I'll watch this stupid ass show. And then I ended up loving WandaVision. I was like, whoa, this is like way unexpected. Yeah. And I ended up loving that, and then just hating Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So there we have it.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think Loki's going to be good? I'm hoping it's going to be good.
I hope so. The trailers for Loki look great. So, amazing. And I really like Tom Hiddleston in the role. Yeah. I mean, that's a career role. He could play that forever.
Right.
So he's great in that role. I really like, that it's got Owen Wilson in it. He looks like he's having a really good time with the show. Yeah. So we'll see. It looks like a lot of fun. So I hope it's good.
Yeah.
But if anything, now I see that, Marvel can hit slam dunks, and, it can hit whatever the hell the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, of course, on the DC side, we got the Suicide Squad coming out. How you looking? How's that looking for you?
I'm excited. I was on the Suicide Squad set visit, which
I was about to say, you were there too, right?
Yeah, I can't go into super details on that.
Come on, drink some more and then, start talking.
Oh man, I wish I could. But I'm very excited for it, and I think. I just think, I know that James Gunn has some detractors. Some people don't like his style, and that's fair. Yeah. I think anytime you have somebody that has a very specific style, you're going to have people that fall to the left or right of that style, right? Mm-hmm. It's people that are just kind of like right in the middle where it's very difficult to gauge. But with James Gunn, I can see some people love or hate him. I love his style. I think he's a lot of fun, and he makes a lot of a great use of his cast, of every aspect of the story. He really invests himself and takes full advantage. And I know that like Suicide Squad is going to have a great soundtrack, like his films typically do, and that he's making something really goddamn fun and cool. And there's always the possibility that any of these movies could be terrible.
Oh, of course.
Like, I remember, I thought Wonder Woman 84 would be a slam dunk. And I just slowly watched it unravel before my eyes into this Lord. Yeah. Absolute disaster of a movie. I really don't feel like that's going to happen with the Suicide Squad, but the Wonder Woman 84 is the one that's made me proceed with caution and putting out comments like that.
Well, I mean, remember that first trailer, that first trailer that showed up by what? I think it was at CCXP or if that was where it was. Yeah. Where that first trailer just really popped. And I was like, okay, I think I'm on board with this, man. 80s. Yes. Yeah. It all works out. And then you watch it and I'm like, yeah, I'm digging some of this vibe, but where's the 80s part that we were there's just a lot of things that were missing in that. And then when I rewatched it, I went, oh man, this is just not, I've watched it 3 times. Every time I kind of just disliked it more, I guess you could say. And it was, it just, I tried it, and now I'm just going, okay, I saw a news headline that said it's going to be showing back up on HBO Max in May, and I went, okay, I'm going to click on it. I'll probably watch another, rerun of Impractical Jokers, if that's okay. I'm going to do that instead.
I'm going to rearrange my sock drawer instead.
Yeah.
It takes precedence.
Somebody had a question for you. He said, 2 DC and Marvel projects you're excited for. So we already said Suicide Squad. So that's one.
Yeah, Suicide Squad's a give me a guess. So I would say The Flash and The Batman.
Yeah.
I really like that. I really like Andy Muschietti. I think that he's somebody that he's a filmmaker that's really embracing this mythology and this story. And I think Andy's going to craft something really great. I love that Ezra Miller's back in the role, which, in kind of a way, it's a small way. It's a small win, but it's still in a way kind of having the Snyderverse continue in that sense. So that's cool. I like that Keaton's coming back as Batman. I'm very curious to see what that is.
Yeah.
So The Flash for me, I think is something that I'm very excited to see. And really, just because you have Muschietti behind the camera, I'm curious to see what he will do with it. I think he's got the chops to make something special. So yeah, very excited for The Flash.
Yeah, when it comes to all the drama, of course, that's been happening with Warner Brothers and the Ray Fisher thing. Obviously being part of the Snyder fandom, that's a lot of people are going boycott that shit, or they're going, hey, maybe let's give it a chance. There's a lot of things there where you kind of just go, well, Andy and Barbara, they just want to make a good movie. They're kind of caught in the middle of all this crap, and it sucks. Yes, it does. But at the same time, I'm going, okay, but I kind of want to see what they're going to be going with, because I like, I like them. I like them. I like Andy. I like his, his directing style. I think he could bring something to it. And, and the fact that when Keaton got involved, and then all of a sudden Affleck got involved too, and I'm just kind of going, okay, you're giving me a Flash film with 2 Batmen. How can I not just get involved and be hyped for it? It's difficult.
I don't understand this boycott thing. Like, if it's listen, I love Zack Snyder's work. I love his style. I love his work. But why in the hell why boycott other DC films from other filmmakers, other talent, other vision? Why would I do that? That's just it's pure nonsense to me, and I think it's bullshit, to be honest. I don't think anybody that says that is actually not going to watch the movie. I think they're full of shit.
Well, they'll probably watch it for sure.
They're going to watch it. And beyond that, like, these are just, it's just like the comics in that sense. Like, different creative teams take over the comics. They do their thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then the next creative team takes over. So as much as I love Zach, he doesn't own or have, the artistic rights to every one of these characters. I want to see other visions. Yeah. I want to see other people tackle these characters and see what they have to do.
That's the thing, is so does he. He said that many times.
Yeah, like, of course he does.
I was setting this up for other filmmakers.
And Zach doesn't have time to direct all these movies. Come on. He's one man, dude. And that guy is, he's been pulled in a lot of goddamn directions in the last decade. Like, give the man a break here. The Flash, and I think Matt Reeves' Batman, I'm very excited to see what that's going to be. I love Matt Reeves as a filmmaker. I think he's amazing. And I think he falls in the same league as Andy Muschietti in terms of a filmmaker that's making something purely by vision and by passion. This isn't somebody like, okay, listen, I watched Mortal Kombat today. I hated it. I know some people liked it. That's cool. I don't begrudge you that. I hated it. And it was like, it's very much a product of kind of, paint by numbers filmmaking. Yeah. And it's not somebody, it wasn't a visionary that was making. Even my 12-year-old son is watching Mortal Kombat with me. He's like, dude, could you imagine if Zack Snyder directed this? I was like, yes. I was like, it'd be I'd be like, it wouldn't even have a hint of what we're watching right now.
No.
Like, it'd be something totally different.
I thought about that today. I put it on. I put the beginning on because I was like, you know what? I have some time. Let me put it on. And, I dig the opening scene. I dig it, but then when it gets to the Cole scenes, and I'm like,
dude, it takes like an hour before you get to anything. Spoilers.
I just started going.
Actually, spoilers for you, so you have enough snacks and bathroom breaks because you're going to need them up to that first hour. And then again, there's a few cool fatality things, but you can just go watch a a fatality compilation on YouTube and get the same, pleasure out of that than watching this hour and 45-minute movie that, frankly, just didn't come together. It's kind of a mess. And, it's, again, love what you love. If you like it, cool. Like, don't take, you could just tell me to fuck off.
I mean, there's always going to be different opinions. I mean, I didn't hate it. I still enjoy, I enjoyed most of the fights, not all of them. Enjoyed some of the, back and forth banter. I enjoyed, a little bit of Kano got a little too much at some points. But overall, I still, kind of enjoyed his character. But there are certain aspects to the plot where, we won't get into too many spoilers, where I was kind of going,
you can't spoil the plot.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try.
No, it's just the way that the whole powers thing and the birthmark thing, I was not really on board with how that was all rolling out. I'm more of a classic like Mortal Kombat. I played, the trilogy, the first trilogy, like crazy, and I didn't really get into, played 4 a little bit, and then I really didn't get into like the later games. So there's even some characters I was going, who the fuck is that? Let me look this up. Oh, he showed up in 7. I didn't play 7. Sorry.
Yeah, I played as a kid. I was playing on the Sega Genesis, and Liu Kang was my guy. I was like whooping ass with Liu Kang, but
he was such a side character, such a side character in this movie. That's what was
what the hell happened? It's no Robin Show for the '95 version. That's for damn sure.
Fuck.
And then I actually quite liked Kung Lao, but we all that didn't work out too well. But ultimately, it's just one of those movies that it's cool that you get to see a movie like this at home. I'm actually grateful that I didn't buy tickets to go see this because, this is an instance where HBO Max kind of saved my ass. And I was like, God, I'm glad I didn't make this, $70 trip out to watch this movie, because that would have been a disappointing trip, and I was like, it was nice to be able to watch that at home and be disappointed at home and just carry on with my life rather than be like walking out and be like, oh my God, all the stuff I could have done with this money. I could have bought toilet paper and toothpaste and maybe some dinner, but it just one of those things. But, I think we'll see that's kind of the rub of streaming, I guess, or I guess maybe the benefit of streaming in that sense. Yeah.
What did you think of Godzilla vs. Kong?
I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought, the very obvious criticisms I think are fair. The characters are just toss away. But in the end, I came to watch Godzilla vs. Kong to watch Godzilla vs. Kong. And that's
Godzilla
one of the things. Kong.
That's one of the things you really get with that movie is it mainly focuses on them, which, you can appreciate. And then when it tries to do the human part, you kind of just go, I don't even know what the fuck's going on with them. You got this one guy who's podcaster who's, and then they show, there's a lot of things. Like when I think about that movie, I just think about, Kong almost died. He pretty much was going to die, got revamped, and they kicked ass against, Mecha Godzilla. And it was cool. These visual effects and the score were top notch, 100%.
It's a fun summer movie. I tend to gauge a lot of things by my kids. I have a 12-year-old son. He's a gamer. He's all into this crazy shit that like most kids his age are. Yeah. And when I really do watch his reactions. He's kind of like my barometer for stuff.
That's good.
And he loved Godzilla vs. Kong. It's one of the few movies he's watched multiple times on HBO Max. And, like today after Mortal Kombat was over, he was like, looked at me and he's like, that was bad. When a 12-year-old boy that's a gamer says Mortal Kombat is bad, that's a problem for the studio.
God, man, I tell you what.
I took him with me to go see Shazam and Aquaman when I was invited by Warner Brothers back in the day.
Nice.
And he came with me and got to see these movies. And, here's a 12-year-old, or well, he wasn't 12 at the time, but, 9 or 10 coming out of Aquaman and talking to James Wan. And James Wan flocked to my kid. He was like,
awesome.
There's a kid here. He's like, I want to talk to the kid. And Dash was like, I loved it. And he did. My son, his name is Dash. He's like, I loved it. He's like, it was awesome. And he did, and it was the same thing with Shazam too. Like, I think that kids, like this next generation of fans, you got to listen to them. They're us, 10, 20 years ago, however old you are. And they are going to be ultimately the guiding force in terms of what entertainment we get. You can't ignore them. You can't.
Yeah. I mean, even Garza, who comes on here all the time, he has his daughter that he always likes to wait and watch films with to gauge her reaction, and is always talking about that too. I mean, and I think she's like 12, 13, she's like somewhere around there. And kids are smart. I mean, he even says like, oh yeah, she'll put on Batman vs Superman when she's doing her homework just to have it on in the background. And it's like, wow, Batman vs Superman. I mean, okay, you wouldn't think that, but yeah, I mean, sometimes you really got to gauge that, and that's pretty. I mean, the fact that you said like, oh yeah, it's the Cole storyline that just totally just turns it to B-roll.
It falls flat. And like, listen, Louis Tan, great looking guy.
Yeah,
looks like a superhero. Like, he's got the look. He does not have the acting chops. That's just the bottom line.
That's what I noticed when I watched like the first like half hour. I was like, man, the
acting just ain't there, man. It's just not. And the fact that you're trying to introduce a new character into Mortal Kombat, it really slows the process down. And how tired is this? I gotta protect my family storyline shit. Yeah. They should have just axed that whole thing completely. It doesn't pay. Here's the thing. You see the family at the end just frozen in ice, but you don't see anything more from them. There's no arc to that. Yeah. All it is he saves them. That's it. It's a worthless storyline. It doesn't belong there. They should have just focused on who he was as a person, how he trained, how he became who he became. But the family aspect, I got to save my family. It's just like this convenient trope that's constantly used. To what effect? Why was it needed? It's fodder. It's junk food. It's not needed. It's excess, and it doesn't serve anything in any way to help the story. So I don't know why they had to go that route.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And we're going to bring in Mr. Scott McClellan, because apparently he actually went and saw it tonight. So let's get.
Oh, he went to the theater.
Yeah, I did. I'm an AMC A-lister. So it's like, I need to at least go to the movie theater at least like once a month to like justify the subscription cost. And as Dave knows, it's just when I need just 2 hours away from my family, I need some me time. I go to the movies.
When it's me, I need 2 hours away from my phone and Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So
these days the theater could do just that.
Dude, I put my phone on airplane mode. I leave it in my pocket, off. Leave me alone. This is my sanctuary. I'm going to concentrate on this movie. And so, same thing, that's what I love about going to the movies. But Scott, let's give what did you think?
Okay. Basically, I can boil down my review to about 4 points.
Okay.
Kano was my favorite character.
Good.
The Sub-Zero Scorpion fights at the beginning and the end were the best fights in the damn movie.
Mm-hmm.
The 95 version is better. And the editing is wonky as hell.
Oh my God, it's so choppy.
And once again, I'm getting tired of being able to watch a movie and go, because I think back, you think about 2017 Justice League, you think about Birds of Prey, you think about what was another one where I know I haven't watched Godzilla versus Kong yet. Like I just
man. You should have gone to see that in the theater. That's where you should have gone to see.
Well, but you know what? The timing was not good. Like the timing for this one worked out really well, because my biggest problem right now with the movie theaters, and I've complained about this to Dave a lot, is I normally need a movie to be about 9 o'clock or later for me to actually like get away. Like I need the family asleep.
yeah, I get it.
Most movie theaters now are doing like the latest thing they've got is a 7 o'clock. I'm sorry. I ain't seen a movie at 7 o'clock at night. This one was 8 o'clock and I was still getting a side eye from my wife. So, so it was just one of those situations where I don't know how many days I've got left to catch Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO Max, but I kind of want to see Mortal Kombat more, only because Godzilla versus Kong is kind of a new thing. Like I love the 2014 version of film.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
That movie was great. From like as far as the MonsterVerse is concerned, the 2014 Godzilla still.
That was the one that
you
actually cared about human characters. In my opinion, is like the other two, maybe even Kong Skull Island was a fun movie too, but when it comes to like caring about human characters, the 2014 version I thought really was like, even though when they kill off Bryan Cranston, it was kind of like, that was quick. What the fuck? That was kind of jarring, but I almost respected it because I was like, I didn't expect that to happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that for me is still the best one in the whole bunch.
So I'm going to get to, that one I'm going to get to, but for me, Mortal Kombat was, I was 13 when the first movie came out. Like, because it was a PG-13 movie, my parents could actually like draw me off at the door and I could like go see the movie. And I had the Super Nintendo, so I played Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2. I never got to own the games. I always had to like borrow them or go to a friend's house. Like I didn't get to actually like have those games. So, this one meant more nostalgically for me to go see. And it was just the middle of that movie. Like I said, I'm looking at like some weird ADR going, there's probably like another scene in there that they just washed over with some ADR and some really choppy, like I could just feel that they're just like chunks of that movie missing. And I'm like, stop making me recognize. I shouldn't be able to see the seams.
Oh yeah,
I'm seeing the seams.
When Sonya was explaining everything to Cole under a minute, it was like I went, "What the fuck?" Like watching it again, I went, "Holy shit!" It was like, bam, bam. Oh yeah, this pictures everywhere. Look at this. I was like, okay. I'm like, they just breezed right through all this. Exposition like crazy.
Right. And the weird thing about the 95 version, it's just like 10 minutes shorter. Like, isn't the 95 version like barely over 90 minutes?
Feels more fleshed out. Yeah.
It's lean and mean. It's like a music video movie, which I appreciate. That's kind of like what you want with a Mortal Kombat. And I think that's also one of the biggest errors they made with this movie was giving it a score rather than getting an original soundtrack or something with some music. It needed music. It needed something to like give it kind of that pulse pounding beat, but it just never found that. The score did not serve this movie well, I don't think.
All right, we're gonna bring in Mr. Stephen Colbert now too. What's going on? Audio good? What's up?
It's on and off. It's
yeah. I think StreamYard is being glitchy today.
Yeah, I think it is. When Scott was talking, there was like some crazy feedback. I don't think it was his mic. It sounded like a StreamYard.
Did it sound like caterpillars?
like caterpillars?
Yeah. I still kind of wondering what Joe meant by that when he said like caterpillars.
I imagined like a clicking or like a
like the leg going.
To me, I'm thinking all the legs like like a digitized. Like if you think about what happens when it's digitized, I can see that being like a. I don't know. My ADD brain was like, I know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, Dave gets caterpillars. I get chacos. It's just
I know.
A tale of two panels. So what can I say,
dude? Oh, that's good stuff. Steven, did you see Mortal Kombat?
I saw an hour of it, 45 minutes of it. Maybe
so you saw enough.
Yeah,
you're good.
I thought it was fine. I didn't like. I don't know. I
don't hate it. That's the thing.
Interesting.
I really, it's a weird thing. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting listening to you guys talk about it a few minutes ago, because I think I agree with most of the criticism, and I think kind of the difference of opinion on this is mostly due to like who is going to be picky or like have expectations.
Yeah.
Because you have people that are like, well, it's just a dumb fighting movie. It doesn't need to be that great, and then you have the people that are like, that's not a good excuse. It should have high standards. It's like, yeah, but it's also like, I don't know. I don't want to disparage Mortal Kombat or say that it shouldn't have high standards, but like it's the lore is an excuse made up to justify the nature of a tournament fighting game, because like that it wasn't like, I don't know. It was like when it was originally like released, like that was kind of like why it exists. That doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve like more lore and such, but it sounds. And kind of like what I feel like from watching it is like some of these movies, like what the 93 version?
95.
95.
95. Yes.
Scott's face. Hey, how dare you?
Anything that came out before like 2003 for me is like, oh, that's a 90s movie. And then I just kind of gloss over the years.
You child.
But or no, 98. I know everything like after like 'cause I know like Phantom Menace and Matrix, and then but before that is like a 90s movie. But I feel like there's a pressure on modern movies, especially if they're building a universe, to like get all this lore in there. And so they make these movies with all of the lore kind of baked in. And then in post-production, they're like, oh, we've got to slap this together into a streamlined, 2 hours or less movie. But they didn't design it as like a lore light thing. And so what happens is you end up getting this bad like ADR exposition dumps or other stuff, as opposed to like, if it's going to be under 2 hours, then like just embrace that in conception, and don't try to bite off as many characters and background stories and whatnot. Otherwise, it's just like, if the whole point is it's simply fatalities and seeing people beat each other up, then fine. You don't need this like complicated lore in order to justify seeing people beat each other up. And as a result, it just gets kind of overly convoluted. Now I've only seen 45 minutes, so I have no idea how the rest of that plays out. But
I think the point is it's not overly convoluted.
Mhm.
It's weird because the way the movie is trying to build itself. Now, I don't hate the movie. For me, the movie just falls under, it's fine. Like that's like when I walk away, it's a movie that's just fine. And I also am okay with movies just being fine. I just wanted a little bit more from it because I had an enjoyable film experience in 95, and I was looking for the R-rated version of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't even feel like, except for language, I think that was another thing, was they didn't really take advantage of the R rating in the fights. Like, they talked about there were going to be more fatalities, and you got like one
3 or 4. That was it.
well, I don't
that, to
understand.
be honest with you. So for me, it's like I felt like I got more quote fatalities out of the 95 version that just weren't graphically violent. Like, I'm sorry, in the 95 version, that Scorpion Johnny Cage fight
Was
it's still my favorite fight. Still
Yeah.
my favorite fight in that movie.
They had
I
Fear
don't-
Factory playing in the background. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't understand how you can like pitch this movie, find a director, cast, crew, put it together, shoot it, etc., and not have like a Gareth Evans leading it,
Right.
I don't know much about the director, so I guess maybe I don't mean to be like overly
He hasn't done
critical
much.
of, but and Gareth Evans was like a nobody when he did The Raid also, but it's just weird to say like we're gonna do this and not get you in a world where The Raid exists and John Wick exists and you have this like the expectations for like forget story, forget lore. If it's a action oriented movie of this nature, you can't deliver 90s action. You need like I heard that there's no fight where it's just like a like how do you not do the Old Boy tracking shot from the side
Yeah.
fight?
Oh no. I mean, anytime there's a fight, I mean, the longest cut is like 0.8 seconds. I don't know.
Like
It's-
how do you not like literally there should be like multiple times where there is an extended sequence where the background is basically one of the backgrounds from the games and it's strictly a straight on shot of the fight happening. Like how
kind of like what they did in Doom, even though like the movie, but they literally had a shot where like Carl Urban like wakes up, wipes the blood off his face, and then it's first person shooter. They just said, "Fuck it, we're gonna do this,"
because that's why people are seeing it.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, I remember watching that in the movie theater, and people started cheering because it was a first person shooter. All of a sudden, like they turned it into what the game was, and people started cheering. So yeah. To have something where it would like represented the game like big time, there really was not that here.
It's not like that's a bad way to produce action either. Like I said, like the Old Boy fight scene is like the same it's like the same shot.
Yeah.
And it's legendary for what they did with that. And you also, like, I guess maybe if you don't have actors or stunt people who can execute an extended take like that, because that's how you end up with like this choppy editing. But I don't know, it just seems there are things like that to me that seem like when you have you're whiteboarding, like you don't even have a script yet, and you're just like, okay, what is this movie, and like what are we attempting to deliver here? You're going to be like, let's get Gareth Evans, or let's get the
you get
the
Chad
Stahelski
crew, like with the guy, like they just did Nobody,
Mm.
and that movie was great.
That movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
You see Nobody, Paul?
Yeah, Nobody is definitely a movie. If you're going to go to the theater, I would highly recommend going to see
Yes.
Nobody or Godzilla versus Kong before you see Mortal Kombat. Nobody's amazing. Nobody is just awesome.
Oh man,
and it's a movie that I was sitting in the opening credits going, Michael Ironside's in this movie?
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd's in this movie?
What
and then
the
Colin Salmon showed up, and I was just like, who the hell else is in this movie?
Christopher Lloyd is in it.
Yes,
he plays his dad.
He plays his dad. He plays Bob Odenkirk's dad.
Oh,
Dude, it's so great, man.
It's amazing.
And there's like a moment too where it gets Edgar Wright-ish, where it's just like the repeating the fast edits, because it's kind of showing like his life, and then all of a sudden and then when the action kicks, there was literally a scene. We won't say it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. That I fucking was done. I was laughing 5 minutes after, just because of how it played out. It was towards the end where it's just what Bob Odenkirk did when he just kind of punched somebody, and I don't know. There was just, like I said, it just has a really good balance of just good action and comedy, and it's Bob Odenkirk. You wouldn't expect him to be in something like this.
And he trained for 2 years so that he could do as many of the stunts on his own.
And
he looks amazing.
He does.
He looks amazing for a 60-something-year-old guy. I mean, he's like, you're like, holy shit! Like, this guy is absolutely an action star. Totally like changes the mold of the type of actor he is just in one movie. He's no longer just Saul. You're like, he's also Nobody.
Well, well, and it's funny too, because you see him, as Saul Goodman, and you're like, okay, that's usually how he is. And then you see him in this, he's slimmer. He looks a lot more fit. He looks younger, and it's just like, you just kind of go, okay. I mean, he really prepared for this role, and I'm really hoping there's sequels to it, man.
And I'm just waiting for it to come out, because it's like right now it's just like that 1999 rental right now, and it's like, dude, I can't. I need, if it's 1999 to own, shut up, take my money.
Yeah,
I just can't justify the rental right now when it's like, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna want to actually own this movie, and it's like, that's been part of the problem with me. And I think, Paul, you kind of hit on it, is that as an A-list member, I'm dealing with the fact that I really need to go to the movies like twice a month to really justify the charge. At 2 movies a month, they're paying me to go to the movies, is basically how I look at it. And there just isn't enough coming out right now.
This still isn't. Yeah. It's
and then once again, and even when there is stuff coming out, like I lamented earlier, that they don't have the show times that allow for any kind of flexibility, because they're really only showing movies 2 to 3 times a day in a particular screen. And it's like, damn it, this is what's making coming back to the movies so hard, because my theaters have been open since August. And I've been going to the movies ever since then. But I've only been to the movies like 1, 2, like I can literally start counting like on one hand how many times I've actually been able to go to the movie theater, and it's not for want or desire to go.
Yeah, that's the problem with that. And then well, we're gonna bring in somebody else, Mr. John Aaron Garza. You want to talk some Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I feel like a loser because I'm like the only one that kind of dug it. Like,
I didn't hate it.
I mean,
I
mean, the thing I could tell about it, and this is just, they wanted to. I mean, essentially, they wanted to make it they wanted to make you care, and me and Avery were watching it, and that literally should be a series. That was literally 1 and 2 episodes. That was the first 2 episodes, because you end it that way, and you got them wanting to get into the season. You know what I mean? Like you get them going, all right, now, because at the end of the day, it's called Mortal Kombat, right? Like, and that was my daughter's thing.
If it was a series, I would have been more invested. It's crazy that would have changed everything, because then I would have been like, okay, so more is coming.
Yeah,
and they could fill in those gaps. But as a movie, I'm like,
that's it.
That's
as a movie, I think they I mean, I don't think they knew it, because they were just trying. Like, as somebody that played the game, like, dude, I noticed so many things where I was like, dude, that's such a callback, or that's hilarious. Like when Kano's being, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but like there's a moment where Kano's involved, and he's like, "Is that the only move you know?" Like, and in my head, I'm going, "Yes," because you'd be playing against other people. You're like, "What the fuck, man? You only do that one fucking move."
I was 5.
Yeah.
At one of the first. Man, what? Yeah, I guess around then. I think the first 3 were out at the time, but we were playing the first one. My neighbor quit playing with me because I would play as
I did that.
Man, who was it? And I would just do because you could, if you got the timing right, you could just punch someone over. And if you landed the first one, if you landed the first punch, then you could just button mash until it was over.
Oh, I did that with Street Fighter. I did that with Street Fighter. I was Dalsylum. That's how you say his name. And and I remember like the first time I played it, I was doing like the same punches, and my brother was getting pissed, and my cousin was getting pissed because I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. But, so I mean, I understood that, but I get it.
And I'll say this, because I know you guys are talking about Godzilla vs. Kong too. Like, I couldn't see that film being a series. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's
you couldn't. No,
that's just the film. And so when you look at this, and we, as we finished it, I asked, so what do you think? She was like, that was good. I mean, she goes, I wanted to see more. Like, I didn't think it was going to end that quickly. And I was like, yeah. And so right then,
there's an actual like part where, when they go to Outworld and you see Shang Tsung for the first time, Sub-Zero
came out of nowhere, by the way.
That came out of nowhere and didn't make any sense. And then there's another part where Melina is walking, and so is Shang Tsung with a bunch of other people. They're dirty. She's got blood all over her, and I'm like, did something just happen that we did not see? That got cut out?
I think they're trying to find Goro or something like that.
Are you talking about that first jump, or it just gives the location card where it's like Outworld?
Yes.
Yeah. That when that popped up and it jumped there, and then it gave the title card. I was like, I feel like there was a much more like rich introduction here that they axed in favor of just cut and say Outworld.
Shang Tsung literally just gives like what that was already given at the beginning, where it says like, Earth Realm is in, 9 losses. Another one, it's going to be fucked, catastrophic, or whatever the hell. Shang Tsung literally just says the same thing to Sub-Zero, and then Sub-Zero goes, I'm not. What's his actual real name? I forgot.
Baihan.
He goes, I'm not that. I'm Sub-Zero, and I'm like,
that was such a funny line to me because it was so out of tone.
Yeah, like it's like 4,000 years later, dude. Like you don't know his
not only that, but
street name.
The whole point of the he's not wearing the blue on his costume. It's like a gritty. Obviously it's Mortal Kombat, but they're taking a little bit of that like Batman Begins kind of like let's get rid of the campiness a little bit. And so it's really funny for him to be like, I'm Sub-Zero, and it's like, no, if you're gonna go this route, then just people know he's Sub-Zero.
Yeah, you don't need to say it.
Like you don't need to, unless you're gonna be like, I'm Sub-Zero, needle drop. Like,
like they did that a lot throughout the
movie.
Syndrome
starts playing right there.
Yeah.
They're always they constantly like made like little nods and jabs. Like it's like they broke character for a second. They're like, oh, we got to work this in, like flawless victory. It's kind of like it's so out of left field from the tone that they had set for the film. So you're just kind of like, why did they even put that in there? Like I get the fan service, but it doesn't make sense in the overall context.
It's literally fan service because I can understand. Like even with there's a scene in there where there's people fighting and you have Shang Tsung in the background. Like watching, like I'm like, yes, that's exactly like what happened in the game. Like it gave its meaning. But this is the and yes, obviously I'm a big Snyder fan. So like the reason why it felt off-putting is because they didn't do what Zach does. So it was like, and I know Paul, you were saying like, yeah, your son was like, man, if Zach would have done it, like the reason why it felt that way is because Zach would have taken it and gone, well, what makes these characters, right? And then he would have broken it down, and you probably wouldn't even heard the names, and the way the fighting would have been, it would have been so intricate that it just would have felt organic. But if they did any of those liners or those like callbacks, he would have gone all the way in.
Zach would have just been every single fight would have been a one take.
Yes,
fight.
absolutely. Because he would have shown it probably from like the side angle too. Because that's something that I think would.
That's what I was talking about. Is I heard they didn't do that even once.
No,
like how, because that's and not to. I get a little bit tired of the like, man, if Zack Snyder did this movie, because it's a tired like I don't know, it's like easy, and it's stereotypical for Snyder fans too, where it's like I try to avoid that. Like
my 12-year-old kid is not like he's not a Snyder file per se. Like he loves Zack Snyder's Justice League. But he just looked at me, and he's just now kind of starting to get to know directors, and he he's starting to learn. And he was like, "Dude, he's like, what if Zack Snyder made this movie?"
Yeah,
he's starting to see like make these connections where it's like it's very obvious on a filmmaking level. This is not at the same level as something that he watched, which was Justice League. He's like that. Like, there's just a huge gap stylistically, and that's one of my biggest problems with Mortal Kombat. It doesn't really have a style. At all.
Like or something, or just take any of the directors who worked on Netflix Daredevil. Like, give me one of those one shots.
Jesus Christ! Seriously,
I mean,
a Steven Tonight Mortal Kombat would be great.
I just think about like the hallway fight, or that 9-minute sequence in season 3 that you're just like, wow, one person messes this up and you are so screwed right now. But that's a thing, is that I like fight choreography where I get to watch the fight. And I want choreography. Like I said, that's why the Scorpion Sub-Zero fights, because they're the most sustained fights you get that are showing off, okay, these actors actually have martial arts training. Like, it doesn't look like you're trying to cut them to look like they have martial arts training. No, they actually have training, and it shows because you do stay on them for however many more seconds than anybody else in this movie.
I think that's why it's so common for people to jump to the like, what if Zack Snyder did this, is partially just because Snyder fans want him to do everything, but also because he's so you don't say that about other directors as much, because what it means to be a Snyder film is so different from what it means to be like anything else. Like, there's a bunch of other, and this is not necessarily to shade anybody else, but tons of directors who were like great directors who could all make the same movie. There's tons of directors who could have made a great, better version of this movie. Where when someone says, what if Zack Snyder did this, they don't necessarily even mean what if Zack Snyder literally is standing behind the camera. They just mean, what if somebody before they made the movie would sit down and say,
what person that made it.
Exactly. But what if somebody would actually sit down and say, first of all, why are we making this movie?
Right.
All right. Second of all, why are these characters in it? Like, because from what I've seen and from the criticisms that I'm seeing, it seems to very much lack that. Because you're saying, okay, why are we making this movie? Okay, well, it's a fighting game, and it's people are really into that aspect, and so the fights have to be good, and also maybe lean into that stylistically a little bit as well, and do all these things. And it feels very much they were like, okay, let's make a generic movie that adopts the Mortal Kombat lore. Because like the idea of having like a heavily edited fight sequence in a Mortal Kombat movie is just so antithetical to like the goal setting out should be to have as few cuts as possible in any fight, simply because it's Mortal Kombat. Like, not even just as saying like it's better action, if it's like, because you can do good action with edits. But why would you not set out to?
I'm not the director. I can't tell. I can't be like, he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm just saying that I could look at it and go, well, I would have chosen different things, and I know what I would have done. But there's a moment where these two characters fighting, they're on one of the levels that you're like, oh man, are they going to do what I think they're going to do? And no,
it's the bridge, right?
Yes, and I'm like,
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I haven't even seen the scene, but
and I'm like,
okay, it's got to be the if
Yeah,
there's
because
a
you're
scene
going-
where you're going to be like, they're
because
going
you
to fall, right?
see, like,
Is there
they
a pit?
literally
Is there a
purposely-
pit?
Yeah, they show you the pit and everything, and I'm like, oh, dude, here we go. Let's roll, man. Like, I'm excited. Like, what's gonna happen? And nah, I'm like, well, what the fuck did you even go there for then? God damn it, man! You could have literally fought in the street with that kind of fight. But I think again, it's amazing because it's not like it's weird to think of because like it's not like the director did a shitty job because again, if this was a series and those were the first 2 episodes we got, dude, I'm all for season 3 or episode 3. I'm like, yes, give it to me because I'm interested to see where these go. I also think they could have easily given us more character development with Liu Kang. Like, dude.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that, you know, me and Paul were talking about was like the fact that he was such a side character and we're kind of going, why? You know, I mean, he essentially has always been like the main, well, I mean, at least classically when it comes to, you know,
Right.
the original games.
Or with
he
the
was
2
always, like,
movies.
central. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, he was such a side character in this, in which just he was telling Cole what he needs to do and all this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, I mean, I think the whole Cole character I don't know, it just kind of ruined.
Well,
like,
it kind of pissed me off because I was like, it felt like it was gonna be like, again, without spoiling it, I was thinking, okay, when they started talking about who they were gonna be fighting and all that, and they talked about Sub-Zero, I was like, I know where that's gonna go. And even then it was like barely went there. And I was like, what? Why wouldn't y'all just fucking do it like properly? Like, listen, we have guys literally using fire and it's turning into this fucking dragon. You don't think you could just show Scorpion or something like being exactly what Scorpion is like in, you know, in the real world? Like I thought it tried to play it safe on the realistic aspect, but then again, you have a fucking, you know, a guy wearing a hat with the blades on it. Like, dude, you know, like you didn't have to be so realistic, but then like forget that you're like making a fucking video game, you know, movie. Like again, it just there's certain things and certain aspects that I wish it would have taken, but at the end of the day, just like Paul said, like, dude, I'm glad I was able to watch this on HBO Max. Like, you know,
it lessens the blow of disappointment for me. I'm like, well, listen, I didn't hate Mortal Kombat. Hate's a strong word. I was more disappointed than anything else. I just kind of walked from like, you know, it just really didn't live up to what it could have been. Somebody in the chat mentioned, you know, someone like the Wachowskis directing. Like, I think that's what it needed. You need somebody that can make a visionary take. Even, I mean, it sounds crazy to even say it, but Paul W.S. Anderson in 1995, at that time in that place,
you know,
was
what?
A visionary take. He understood the assignment.
Yes.
I still remember I remember shots of like when they go into the other world and you see the lightning and it's the camera's like above, like a little bit above all the characters and they're walking.
There's some beautiful
like,
shots in there.
It's like that's I mean, I have that ingrained in my head and I'm like, dude, maybe nobody does it because they don't like it, but
when it comes to Paul W.S. Anderson, he had, you know, in the 90s, he had Event Horizon and Mortal Kombat. And I'm like, good job. And then all of a sudden, he just went somewhere where I went, okay, now you're B-roll. Now you're 100% B-roll. It's fine. Do whatever the hell you do. Yeah, you're married to Mila Jovovich, you lucky bastard. But, you know.
He did Resident Evils.
Yes, he did
you
all
can't discount, you know, the early work and right up to, you know, including the Resident Evil, the first film.
First one was all right. Yeah.
First one was all right.
Which most people, I mean, I remember being at Resident Evil and seeing there's like these teenage boys in front of me, and they must have just showed up just to see Mia Jovovich bottomless because like it happened. I remember the one kid looks to his other friend, he's like, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" I was like,
"It's all the bottom of your cheeks, your butt dimples."
Yeah, that shit's awesome. But I mean, ultimately, I think for something like Mortal Kombat, you don't hire somebody that's just going to get the job done. You need to hire somebody, Wachowski's, a Snyder, you know, the Gareth Evans, somebody that's going to give it some kind of signature. This movie has no signature. And, you know, I think, you know, for like Garza, I think, you know, you've got it in terms of like it being a TV show, because that's what it feels like. If it were a TV show and just a TV show, I'd be like, cool. I would change my whole perception on the film because I'd be like, well, there's more to come. There's more that I can watch and kind of redeem itself.
More
but
characters are going to get
less
introduced.
than 2 hour movie. It just doesn't come together in terms of like, it's not the best new Mortal Kombat movie to be released. That's just the bottom line.
And we never actually get the tournament.
Yeah, how do you not have a tournament?
Well, that was the other thing that I thought was so weird. I was like, so, again, it goes on the aspect of, listen, I don't, Zach said it, you shoot all your bullets, right? Like if you're making one, like there's no guarantee that you're going to make another film. But if it was a series, you can easily do that kind of thing where you're like, hey, listen, let's subvert expectations. Let's go ahead and flip it, right? But you can't do that when it's fucking called Mortal Kombat. Like you don't do that one thing that's the one thing that everybody's looking forward to. I mean, fuck, you could have just given us like one fight or something like that in there.
Well, and look at the games. Even the games found some excuse to like, there was always a tournament for the next game. Like, they always found some BS way to like keep that going. Cause I'm like Dave, like I basically did Mortal Kombat 1 and 2.
Yeah. I got up to 4.
Yeah, I never even made it.
Introducing
I barely made it to 3, and then I came back with 9 was the first one for like PS3, and 9 did that cool thing where they basically did a reset of everything and gave you like 1, 2, and 3 over the course of one game.
Yeah, well, I just feel like, man, they could have easily taken this in a different route. And I mean, there's so many characters they could bring in.
It's one of those things where I imagine that the decision making was probably like, well, the tournament is what they would expect, or it's like the logical approach, or well, we've already gotten that one, so it's too much of a retread to make it entirely about that. But I think that goes back to like, what's the assignment? Like it's Mortal Kombat, and that is what Mortal Kombat is. And so like if what you want is like a fantastical, like there's plenty of IP that's just like anime or whatever, if you like, that you can go to find a fantasy like real world mashup with lots of fighting, or just create it in your own thing if that's the approach you want to take. But like if you're doing Mortal Kombat, like there are certain things that you would be expected to do with it, or at least like end with a cliffhanger for like I don't know, and I don't want to spoil.
Like in Mortal Kombat where Shao Kahn just goes, get your souls out of mine, and they all go, ha, yeah.
But you got to earn that
souls are
cliffhanger. Mine. You got to earn that cliffhanger. You can't just toss it because I mean, in my opinion, they just kind of tossed it in there. But you got to earn that cliffhanger, man. You got to earn it. You can't like dangle. It's I think back to like the Iron Fist season 2 thing where they show Iron Fist with the 2 guns and everything, and you're like, Jesus, why didn't you do that in season 2? There's never going to be a season 3 now, and that would have been the best part of the whole thing. And it's like,
I think that goes back to what's really interesting about Iron Man 1 is such a great movie in so many ways, but I think that it kind of poisoned a number of discourses and like mindsets about how franchises are built. Because on one hand,
have a Nick Fury.
On one hand, it did exist because like they knew they wanted to, like the whole phase 1 was kind of mapped out to an extent. And so, but you get a lot of these other universes that start, and they'll have this first installment that is more preoccupied with like starting a shared universe than it is with like telling a story or doing its own thing. But because like what Iron Man gets praised for is like, okay, well, it's the solo movie, so it establishes the one character, but also it establishes all these things. But like so many of the things that are in Iron Man 1 that end up getting picked up on in later movies are like retroactive continuity stuff, where it's not like it'd be an Easter egg there, and then later on they're like for example, Shang-Chi's coming out and they're like, oh, it's the 10 rings, we're finally paying that off. And it's like they didn't seed that in. That wasn't part of the plan. I mean, I'm sure maybe they thought that it was hypothetically down the road, but it's not like they were setting up Shang-Chi, or at least this iteration of it or whatever, when they did that. But people treat it that way. And so they say like, well, if you're going to build this shared universe where in movie 25 you're going to do Shang-Chi, you got to reference the 10 rings in the first movie. And it's the same reason with the DCEU. You've got like, well, you got to have the solo movies first, and it's like there's no, I remember why I brought up Iron Man 1 in the first place now, but I think that I almost get tired of people saying this, but I am going to say it, is that you just got to make a good movie.
No, but
is that what it is?
No, they could have,
as opposed to like
gone. They easily could have gone as Justice League route. Like, dude, you introduce Shao Kahn, like just floating around, like he's like the one that's kind of communicating with Shang Tsung, right? Like on a different level. Like it's the whole reason why Shang Tsung's even doing what the fuck he's doing is because Shao Kahn's like, fucking you. I need to take over this Earth realm. Like, hurry the fuck up. I've been waiting. It's been 9, tournaments. Let's get the last one. Hurry the fuck up. You have this badass warrior, Sub-Zero. Fucking do it. Hurry up, man. I'm willing to look the other way, and I will make sure that you get accommodated for it. Right? I mean, like, imagine having Shao Kahn, and then finally, and I'm not saying Shang Tsung does anything, but like, at the end, you have Shao Kahn basically get involved. I mean, that's a lot better than what they did with the ending. I feel like they could have done.
But once again, the Outworld stuff seemed so shoehorned in that you get the sense that there. I think that's the frustrating part, is you get the sense there was more there.
Oh, imagine
and then it just got left on the cutting room floor.
Imagine if it opened with one of those 9 other tournaments.
Yep.
Like a Lord of the Rings
absolutely.
style thing, where like you get the lore dump at the front end, because like of the part of the movie that I saw, the better scene was that the opening scene with the Scorpion Sub-Zero like setup,
right?
But at the same time, I've seen that scene a million times. That's Magneto. It's
they did it on the internet, on the web series. They literally did that fight scene in the web series.
And not that
Legacy.
I'm saying to like remove that scene or replace it or change it, but like as an opening scene, it's something I've seen it before, where like, oh, he's in hiding or he's retired, and the bad guy comes and kills his family, and like and then that's what sets him off on like that scene is not original or new, and they didn't do anything with a twist on it. But like, imagine if that like lore or backstory was established beforehand, and then it gets to that scene, and then the fact that it, instead of feeling tired, you're like, now I know where we're going with this, because you've got that lore already established. So instead of it opening with something you know before, it opens with something you don't know, and then settles into something you do know, which kicks off into the second, or gets the first act really going. I don't know.
No. I mean, that's exactly what they could have done. Like I said, they could have easily shown us a previous tournament. Like, just because you're not using the characters don't have a timeline. Like, you could easily introduce like a fucking character from like,
just like we're talking about a video game here, so that's just like what they do in so many video games, where they're like, okay, it's going to take you 30 hours to level up to be in a good spot. So the tutorial mission, we're just going to give you a fully powered character and some kind of a flashback or whatever to have you like you're playing Dragon Ball Z or whatever. They're like, we're just going to drop you into like the Goku Frieza battle when he goes Super Saiyan, and like that's how you'll learn to play the game. And then we'll flash forward, and then you build up from there.
Now I'm just having visions of Force Unleashed, where your tutorial is you're freaking Darth Vader, and it's like, and now you're gonna become the apprentice, and you have to build up to that.
The flashback gives you the mechanism by which you can literally do like whatever like insane like combination of fights that you want, because it's your lore battle. And so you just like blow the doors off with like, okay, what fight are we not going to have an opportunity to see in this story? Oh, you want to see some of these old badass powerful characters fight each other? Great. You want to see like Sub-Zero, or I don't know.
No, dude, if you want to bring in like Cyrex or fucking the cybernetic type people, like, because that's, if you're trying to keep it real, right? If you're going to do a history lesson, you could literally bring in Reptile or Smoke or somebody, like people that don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like, those tournaments are gone, so they're dead. So they're not in the real world now. You know what I mean? Like, you could have that lore and treat it realistically, being like, and
it's in an environment where you're allowed to do that without suffering the like, well, they never did anything with that character, or without the like, oh, well, we never had an opportunity to build to that, because you're literally just like, oh, here's a fully formed world, here's all this fucked up shit. Now let's cut to the story that you're going to tell that's inspired by that. Like,
how badass though in the 95 version when you know, when Reptile was like a presence throughout, and he was an actual reptile, and then all of a sudden he like gets into that statue, and then he turns into the ninja reptile, and it goes reptile, and then he just kicks fucking Liu Kang through a wall, and they have this crazy, batshit crazy fight. That was so awesome right there. I mean, it's
speaking of like, the style, like
you said
remember how
the 95 version of the movie.
What? Yeah.
No, that was in
the game for a second.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, didn't they do it in Annihilation too?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I gotta bounce out, so I want to say peace. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man.
Really appreciate it. Great talking to all you guys. So I really appreciate it. And,
no problem, man. Thanks for joining.
Like you
could get him at Arctic Ninja Paul right there. So appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
all right, cheers, boys. I appreciate it.
Take it easy,
man.
Bye.
Take care.
Man, I kind of.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you, Garza. I still to this day have never seen Annihilation.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh man, it's fucking so good, dude. Like
it's so good, it's bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, no, dude. It's Dave. You don't like it?
Annihilation, or like you're talking about Mortal Kombat?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're talking about Annihilation from.
Yeah.
No. I saw.
Okay.
Wrong Annihilation.
Like,
no.
I don't. Well, that's how far my. Yeah, I was like, what? Annihilation?
No.
Okay,
not that Annihilation. That Annihilation
I saw that
fantastic.
Annihilation in theaters. That was amazing.
What's
on yeah, so did I. It's on HBO Max now. They just put it on.
What? Oh,
Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Well, I've got the Best Buy had a steel book with Mortal Kombat 95 and Annihilation. It was only $14.99 to get both on Blu-ray in a steel book. I was like, dude, I pay $14.99 just for the 95 version.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting Annihilation for free.
Well, no, it's all right. Like, well, and again, I don't know. I think Steven's the one that showed it to me, but that's a print cut.
It's a
like,
print.
They didn't
Yes.
They didn't even fucking finish it. They're like, nah, we're good. But you know, at the end of the day, I think if you really look at like even, I mean, who knows? They might have had some history lesson type, fight scenes.
Well,
because
like I said, there's literally a scene where it's like Melina's walking up to Shang Tsung. They're walking. Shang Tsung's dirty. She's got blood on her face and dirty.
Like, where were they at? Like, what the fuck?
Why are they walking around the middle of Outworld?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
To like a big Goro statue. I'm like,
he literally
okay,
could teleport like with smoke. It's like, why are you walking? You just fucking teleport, dude. Like, come on. I don't know. There's like something missing there. I'm going, something happened, I think. And what happened right here?
And I think I guess I already said this when I originally made the point, but it's just so weird to cut straight to there and just give the title card like Outworld when it's clear. It's not like you're like New York City. Like this is a different dimension, right? And so you feel like there should be some sort of like thematic or like plot driven like introduction to it.
Well, because it doesn't look different than obviously being on Earth.
It looks like it could be a secret location and
exactly.
Yeah.
Like when you see Raiden's temple, it's like that kind of looks like Outworld because it's all New South Wales, Australia.
Yeah. I mean, again, though, I like the film. Like as a fan, as a gaming fan, like that I played it. Like, dude, I laughed at so many parts because I was like, yes, dude, like they get me. Like as a fan, I was like, yes, I like the callback, but again, it's that tonal shift that would be like, I mean, if you're gonna go there, like go all the way in, dude. Like I want to see Shang Tsung just sitting there, clapping or something. Like give me that shit. But you can't have both ways. I don't feel like, and they tried to.
And I think the spirit of like the nature of fatalities is not simply just like give me gore, but once again, fun. Like, what's the assignment? Like Mortal Kombat, the reason that like the fatalities exist in the game at all, or like the whole nature of the first game with like it wasn't mocap, but I mean kind of like
but it was so great.
It was
it was
like for its time, which is hilarious to say that. Because like I was just playing it today on my Super Nintendo emulator, and it looks bad, but I mean by comparison. But at the time,
you still see humans there. Like it's not.
And so it's so weird. But the whole point is like pushing boundaries, and And this didn't feel like it really pushed boundaries. Like it checked boxes for like, here's a fatality, here's blood.
It checked boxes for me, yes.
But there was never any moments where, and I keep on saying this, and I'm like, I've seen an hour of the movie, but like there were very few points where it was like, whoa, they really went for that. Like they clearly had like some, it just feels like it was uninspired. Maybe it felt way more like fill in the blank than.
Well, again, I think Paul mentioned it to Dave. He was like, try to spoil the plot. Like, what plot? Like, there is, and that's why I'm saying, dude, there's no plot because guess what? It's literally that is 2 episodes into the fucking series of a 10 season or 10 episode series.
But of a series that's like centered around someone who
it's got no. That his arc is over with. Like I don't need to see that arc. Well, no, that's what I'm saying because at the end of the day, what's interesting about it is like they were like, okay, we got to have a character that everybody's going to follow, and they essentially took Johnny Cage and just kind of reconfigured it into Cole. And I'm going, why don't you just make him Johnny Cage? Though, because Johnny Cage was such a, like, dude, hey, oh my god,
but he's like the character,
right? He's like, those are $500 sunglasses.
Well, my question, and once again, I don't know if this is going to be a spoiler answer or not, but the decision to me feels very much like, okay, we need a POV character, but we don't want to spoil. We want to save Johnny Cage to do something different with him later, but to have both of them in this movie would be a bit much. So let's get this out of the way here, and then we'll bring in like a proper Johnny Cage later.
Well, no, I mean,
optics wise.
No, at the end of the day, I feel like they didn't even need his character. Like I didn't need a point of view character because you don't, even with the point of view character, you're like, well, I don't, it doesn't fulfill what it's supposed to. Like I was thinking, okay, well, if that's what you're going for, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to say, listen, if there's a line and you're going all the way here straight down and it connects, then that should be the line that I'm going to be seeing in this film. But it's like, no, he's not that character.
It's almost like Sonya could have also played that role because
easily.
her arc. I mean, she's a character that they needed to have done more with in the movie.
Absolutely.
And she actually has like an arc that it's underdeveloped, but the bones are there. And you totally could have made her instead of creating Cole, and you didn't want to bring in someone like Johnny Cage, and you for some reason want to make Liu Kang the side character.
Side piece. He's a side piece, man.
So Sonya would have served that role, and I think would have been more effective.
Yeah,
well, I will say I did like the aspect. If you're gonna keep it grounded and go, listen, you're not just gonna have powers, but if you tap into your inner Akane or whatever they called it, like then you could potentially. Well, no, it's not really a spoiler. It's just like
I
listen,
know, but that was a part of the story that I was not real. I was like,
right? No, I figured that. But I mean,
I
liked it because it was okay. Well, how do you get these metahumans? Essentially, like how do you get them? Like nobody's just walking around and then at 30 years old, they're like, you know what? I'm going to defend Earth with these powers that I have. It's like,
I get that.
What were you doing in your 18 years? Like,
it's like, okay, capitalize more on that. Get rid of the birthmark shit then. All right.
Well, right. No, but that's my point though. Yeah. So imagine seeing like character arcs of characters like that, like, of Johnny Cage or something like that, getting like figuring out who he is. He's like, well, fuck Hollywood, Well,
I think what I mean, going back to what we were talking about with the fatalities and everything, I think one of the challenges that anytime they try to attempt doing a Mortal Kombat is the fact that, when you're playing the game, I mean, unless you were playing Liu Kang a la first Mortal Kombat, where all he did was like this weird scissor kick. And
he had the fireball. He had a fireball.
Yeah, he did. But I'm talking about fatality wise. When it came to fatalities, Liu Kang didn't really have fatality unless you were on the fucking bridge and he knocked you into the pit. That's all. That's the only people that he killed.
Because he didn't get the animality till 3, I think.
Yeah, and he didn't get the dragon until the second one.
Was it the second one? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's just like, okay, so now you got all these characters. Do you want to kill every single one of them? Because if they fight each other, there's going to have to be a fatality or something at some point. that's the challenge that you have to do. But at the same time, going back to when you're talking about like, you know, a Daredevil situation where you just have literally just Shang Tsung's goons maybe just attacking somebody, and you get a Liu Kang where he it just does a one shot in a hallway, but maybe not exactly like that, but something where it's a one shot where Liu Kang is literally kicking ass. He does a flying kick. He does a bicycle kick. He throws some fireballs. And then all of a sudden he just busts out the dragon and just wipes out everybody. Yeah. I mean, go that route.
Yeah.
Go that route.
Like show why he has literally been training and in that temple
yes.
and doing things with Raiden. Like, here's the other thing is I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to say that at the end of the day, if you're fighting a boss character or that we know are boss characters, like make it known that it's a boss fighter or something. Like, don't.
By the way,
we haven't even gone to the.
By the way, I love Cabal in this movie.
Yeah, you know, he was pretty cool. I didn't think he was gonna be like that, but
because he was my favorite character when it came to Mortal Kombat 3, and I got to know that character and I got to know his fatalities, moves. I played him like crazy. Sub-Zero was always my guy, or Johnny Cage. Yeah. But man, when Cabal came, I was like, I fucking love this character that they created. And they did I loved his character in this movie because it felt like it was, all right, they really fit it. But
well, he felt like a character.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, he felt like a character, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to say, I'm going to start a hashtag for Goro. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah. Cause at the end of the day, like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know what he's doing. That was the worst part, I think, for me, like in general. I was like, we're not even in a fucking scenario where that's like a legit thing. And whatever, man.
Yeah. What were we gonna say, Steven? Are you gonna start talking about some we're gonna start talking about let me bring it up.
And you still can't see the numbers.
No. Actually, I was gonna say it's too bad Paul left. Because I was looking forward to talking about Army of the Dead with him.
Yeah. We were too busy talking about the too
not to. I know that's a sharp change of subject. We don't have to change subject right now, but we're going in circles a little bit. I think about Mortal Kombat. We can keep on going with that, but I do want to make sure we talk about Army of the Dead a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Well, even the numbers too. Max.
Well, I don't. Listen, dude. Here. This is because I haven't been on since JusticeCon. Okay, and I've said it on my stream, and I will keep saying it. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but the answer Zach gave when they were like, "Hey, what do you think about restore the SnyderVerse?" That answer he gave was basically like, "Listen, I'm not going to tell them to stop, but I appreciate it. That's cool. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe. I don't know. Shit. But I'm over here. I'm like literally on the other side of the fucking road."
Yeah.
And I want to go back and tying into that. I want to go back to the panel where Tim and I got to interview him from Army of the Dead. Yeah, and
great.
Tim and I specifically were like, we literally had a subheading in our questions that was just called Netflix. It's like, we wanted between him and Fatma interviewing Wesley and Debbie, I mean, there's a love affair right there with Netflix that I'm all for right now.
Well, you look at how his mannerisms, his body language, right? When he was talking about Justice League, it was, I mean, if you could see somebody's aura, it was very black. It was very dark. It was very, Justice League was a fucking a workout, basically. Like, dude, he was still getting fucked around. You know what I mean? Like, he couldn't do his Green Lantern. He couldn't do his shit. And then all of a sudden, the next day, he gets to talk about Army, and he's like, it's like a fucking bright white light behind him, dude.
Oh yeah, he's like a kid in the playground.
Yeah, dude.
And if we're talking about, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and like even asking him, like, I'm shocked that there is not a 300 type scene in there, because Meg thankfully asked that question for me, because I was really curious. I'm like, hey, is there a shot, because we know that Zach does his things, aesthetically, and but at the end of the day, he was like, no, I mean, technically it's just, that would be too complicated for him being kind of really the only one working with the cameras and all that. But you could just see his enthusiasm for being in front of the camera, being behind the camera, doing all the shit that he got to do, and speaking about the lenses and all that. I was just like, dude.
Oh, he was spurting out, man. When he was talking about all the lenses and shit, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was really fun. My parents were watching the interview because I sent them the link, and they were like, "Okay, we kind of enjoyed the Harry Lennox interview more because we didn't really understand about half the stuff he was talking about." And I was just like, "It's fun." And my dad was like, "I get it. I think it's cool that that's what he's into." Your mom and I were just confused. We just didn't have any idea. And I was like, "It's okay, Mom, Dad. I understand."
I think that.
But my dad did say, "I need to go back and watch Justice League again because I want to watch that. I want to go watch that mother box scene again that he was talking about." I was like, "Yeah, Dad, it's at the end of part 4."
Nobody realized how complicated that scene was.
Yeah,
and I even pointed that out too. And I was like, you don't realize how complicated this. It seems so simple. This is all one take, and there's just like multiple things happening at once. That's happening right here. So
yeah,
and all I could think of this was when, because we had just done the vodka stream that Friday, and Zach is talking about the cameras, and now in my head the whole time I'm repressing a laugh, going, Steven is having a nerdgasm right now. I'm just going,
I was waiting for that scene for so long.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really interesting talking about his like posture and the way he answers when talking about like the restore the SnyderVerse question. Because I had to sit for a year and a half or a little longer on because the question that I asked him on set was obviously, and it was unfortunate we didn't get to publish it until after Justice League was out.
Right.
But people, like Paul said, the question people didn't like, one of the big oppositions to it was saying like he's moved on or it's time to move on or look, and so I asked him, I gave him an opportunity to say is there a point at which you want people to focus more on what you're making next than what you made in the past? And it's not relevant as much now because it was about the Snyder Cut, but I think it applies to the SnyderVerse in principle, which was like, look, it is what it is, and I'm going to keep on making stuff. And I would hope that everyone follows me. You know, I'm assuming it's not mutually exclusive. Like people that like Justice League aren't going to say, no, I don't care about Army of the Dead. I assume that they're going to follow me over there. But you know, he says like, far be it from me to like tell anybody to move on, especially because they've given so much. And, you know, was very complimentary of the movement and talked about, you know, how he called it a hole in his filmography, which Paul mentioned earlier. And, and a bunch of stuff. He talked at length about it. So I, you know, definitely look up that interview to get the full context. But then he kind of ended it by saying like, but, you know, I'm here now, like drawing attention, like coming back to the fact that like we are at a table in the cafeteria talking to you about the new movie that you're making for Netflix that's setting up a shared universe over here. Like sure, I you know, and he said, you know, he even had a little bit of a twinkle. He's like, but you never know, stuff keeps on coming out, and I don't think that it's ever going to leave the conversation. So, you know, he's not going to tell people to stop, and I'm not saying people should stop either. No. But I think the biggest thing about his reaction to it is whenever someone says like, if they gave you money or if they offered you, his reaction, instead of saying like, yes, I would, he always says, who's giving me money? Yeah. Who's giving me that offer? Like, really? And it's like really sarcastic, almost like you're serious. Someone's going to give me money? No.
Yeah.
But no. If they do, I'll take it. But no, they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd fucking take it. Absolutely. They're not going to give it to me. So it's like, fuck it. Of course I would. If they do give me the money. Yeah. Done. Well, but even then, it's still.
And I think per your point, the idea that that Netflix is just like, there's not a blank check, but basically here's a blank check. Here's enthusiasm. Here's freedom.
Well, this is the difference.
Like, make whatever you want, Zach. Take a camera and go off in the desert and make a fucking zombie movie. And he's like, awesome. No. And then if Warner Brothers were to be like, okay, here, we'll let you make these movies, but under one.
Yeah. No. Even then, right at that moment, it's like, but here's the difference, right? You have. Like Warner Brothers, like imagine if Warner Brothers was using the Netflix mindset, right? Before Zack Snyder Justice League even came out, they should have been like, we're going to announce the sequel. We're going to announce a spinoff, maybe even do an animated series. I mean, right? I mean, why wouldn't you like capitalize on this? Because you know what it's going to be. Like, you know, people are wanting it, right? Netflix did that for Army of the Dead without anybody really even knowing anything about it. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, nobody knew about Army of the Dead.
There's a prequel series, and the prequel series was greenlit as a live action series, but they had to change it to animation because of COVID. But there's a prequel movie and a prequel series,
and it's already shot.
the movie is coming out, and like especially based on what like Bautista said, there's no way that it sounds like it ends with either a massive setup or a cliffhanger or something that's going to have people excited about the future of this universe. So I've got to imagine there's already a sequel.
They haven't announced it because
in some ways,
because if you announce the sequel, then you know that everybody lives, right? I mean,
or it ties into. I swear it's going to tie into the Area 50, the Area 51 thing.
Oh,
gotta tie into that.
Yeah,
I'm all about
and we know that they're working on this female protagonist that's going to be up in space. Like, dude, what if it's Dave Bautista's daughter? Like if it's his daughter and she
within this, it might be a whole.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to take the fight to them. Like, fuck those guys. And then Steven, guess what Zach fucking uses whenever he's going into outer space on another planet? The fucking volume, so you can keep it goddamn cheap, okay? Motherfucker.
For certain scenes, sure.
God, dude, how fucking wrong were
that?
you, dude? Yeah, how fucking wrong? Like, dude, it didn't even take 24 hours.
Wrong
right?
about what?
Yeah, about Zach being interested in the fucking volume.
Yeah, I said he would use it for certain scenes, but huge.
You said no. You're kind of over it. Nah, you could tell. Nah, you kind of lost interest in it because whatever.
Okay,
You do caca poo poo.
Yeah, that wasn't my words. That was used. I literally.
No, I mean it's a stupid argument to have because what I said was that he would use it. I don't think it would be great for huge action set pieces. So you can like try to drag me or whatever, but it's kind of bullshit.
They get a room.
Yeah.
Children, let's me. Okay, so Eric said Leo. Zach himself said the new storyboards and correct. Okay, so one of the things that I keep saying, I'm like a fucking broken record about it. It's like, you know what? If somehow like Warner Brothers and Anne with a plan goes, okay, yeah, or even Kylar finally goes, hey, yes, we want to do this thing. It's like, I keep on saying, it's like, yeah, he's got it all mapped out. Does he need to be full on hands on? Does he need to be like the full on art, like everything? Like he needs to be the director, part of the writing process? No. Let him he's doing a lot of things, but it's like, and I hate that I'm dropping this too, because it's just like, I've asked him that. I'm like, how would you feel if somebody if they still continue your story, but other people were still mainly involved? He goes, that would be cool. It's like, yes, because he's busy. He is he's not sitting there waiting around. And it's just like, you could have still Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 because it's still his Justice League. It's still his. You can have Zack Snyder Presents.
But also, you got to also remember, dude, he's going to pick directors that know.
Exactly.
It's not like he's going to be like,
you guys have covered that on your show. Which directors would be good?
Dude, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
I know he's got 2 films and he's doing Metal Gear Solid, but literally, Vought Roberts, dude, he is. If you could sit there and go, dude, he not only could emulate, but he could have his own style in the SnyderVerse. Watch Kong, Skull Island.
Would totally be all for that too.
Absolutely, and he's already worked with Larry Fong, dude. Imagine Larry Fong coming in and Fabian Wagner working with somebody else. Like, dude, at the end of the day, you could have those stories. Now, granted, you easily could theoretically, but Warner Brothers, for some fucking reason, is like, nah.
Yeah,
well, that's why I'm excited for Netflix, because you know what?
Yeah,
Netflix has literally got more than a movie a week coming out. Are they all good? No. Am I watching all of them? No. But at least there's content that I was able to go scrolling on my phone today. I was at Liam's soccer game and I just was like, oh, remind me when that comes out. Remind me when that comes. Like I just started going kind of shopping, going, cool. When it pops on the service, I'll watch that. I finally going to get to watch the Amy Adams Woman in the Window. I've been waiting for 5 years to watch because 20th Century Fox and Disney and all those shenanigans. And there's that movie Monster coming out. That's oh, I know the book that's based on. At least Netflix is giving me content regularly and I don't even have to like all of it. Yeah. But then I'm also getting I still love the fact that I mentioned Love, Death, and Robots on that freaking panel, and the next day there's a trailer, and I'm like, I spoke that into existence.
Steven
Netflix was listening.
Yeah. You kind of wonder, right, Steven? You said, what if he's kind of maybe involved in that?
I thought it was weird because he does that thing where whenever he's making a tease, he always pauses And that's very like exactly what he did when he answered the question. Dice is in the comments now. He's going to give me shit about this again. He's like,
Go right ahead, Dice.
what he would say is, I'm going full Garza. But
hey, well, at least I'm always right though, so I don't know.
But he goes, but he's like, yeah, and that was great, right?
Wrong!
And then he like hesitates, and then he's like, and season 2 is on the way too, and that's going to be even better. And I don't know. He was just, and the fact that then the trailer dropped right after that, it just. Oh, and then I think that the other thing about it that I looked up that was crazy is that Love, Death, and Robots was the like, there was once upon a time Tim Miller and I think Fincher still at the time, but I think even like James Cameron was involved in stuff. We're going to do this heavy metal anime series. Which is very similar in concept of this just like hardcore adult-oriented animation anthology thing. And Zack Snyder was involved as a like producer and maybe directing some of them at the time. And then that didn't happen, but the like seeds of that, or like the essence of it, evolved into eventually showing up on Netflix as Love, Death, and Robots. And so he's got a relationship with the production that turned into.
Well, didn't he also mention in Justice Con 2, like that was one of like an R-rated film that he
mentioned heavy metal when he started asking us about like
R-rated.
What were our first R-rated movies?
Oh yeah,
I thought that was a very interesting conversation.
I know. I don't even know that. Like when I went to see it in theaters, like whatever. But
I think mine was Predator. Yeah, I don't know, but I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it on home.
He has admitted that he has been in talks, or that he's been asked to show up in an animated series or something animated form to voice himself. Here's the thing. If he shows up on The Simpsons, which I think he is, I think that's what he's talking about. Then guess what? That means that he has now built a foundation with Fox/Disney, meaning I wonder if he's going to have a project with Fox or somebody involved with not Disney per se, but like Hulu or something like that. Because keep in mind, Alex Garland, he did a whole series for FX, which is Fox
after he appeared on The Simpsons.
Excellent.
Yeah, so
too, right?
I'm just I don't think he did.
No, I know he's never been on The Simpsons, but I'm just saying, like, so I'm just saying though, like, I would not be surprised, like, out of anything coming out as far as like. Why are you going to be animated and voicing yourself? It's literally The Simpsons. That's it.
Yeah, there's one other option that I thought of.
Well, it's other than that, or Rick and Morty, but that's about it.
Oh man, that'd be so fucking awesome.
Or Harley Quinn, yeah, exactly.
Harley Quinn was the first thing I thought of when he said it, but now that you say The Simpsons, that's an interesting.
Yeah, dude, The Simpsons has been going on for fucking.
Well, they've done a Snyder Cut.
They pointed it out. He pointed it out.
Literally, he's the one that pointed it out. So I'm going, dude, I already connected those dots. So I'm going,
and he would be such a great character. I mean, I don't know if he's like pop culture famous enough for people to get the jokes, but imagine a scene with him and Comic Book Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, hey, Steven, the Animaniacs. The Warner Brothers and the Warner sister made hey, Zack Snyder, it's only 11-minute cartoon. Let's keep this moving here. I mean, I see you're going, Yakko just made a Zack Snyder reference.
It's funny that he dropped before Zack Snyder's Justice League came out too, especially considering that had been written like 2 years prior to Animaniacs showing up. Like the sequence of events making that happen. And then the big thing everyone's talking about is the slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, dude, listen.
Yeah, but you make a good point too. Like when he was approached with that question and the way that he answers it, or like he brings it up. I mean, same thing happened the first time I talked to him, and he just pointed out Joe's hair. He goes, "Hey, you seen Joe's hair?"
Yeah,
and then it's just like, "Oh yeah," and because this was before we knew that Joe was coming back.
And he always like, I don't know, it's so like crackpot to his body language. But but when he does those things, he's always like, "Did you see? Isn't that interesting?"
Yeah.
Like,
and he does like
he's pointing it out for a reason. Yeah.
He'll start doing the pointing thing, and he'll be like,
"That is interesting, isn't it?" Yeah. Like, what are you?
That's why I'm saying when he was like, "Yeah, I got contacted to like voice myself," like it's weird. And I'm like, as he's saying that, I'm like, "Motherfucker, we're about to hear about an announcement of you being on a show now," because it's not like he would just say, like, what's the point of him saying that, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's animation. There was no point in him saying it, but again. as I've said numerous times in my prophetic fucking, Nostradamus fucking tales, listen, if he shows up on The Simpsons, I can almost guarantee that he's probably going to be working with Fox on something. I don't know what. I'm just saying, I'm just spitballing. Maybe it's an original idea or something, but I mean, at the end of the day, Fox has some pretty.
Well, what are the odds that a Hollywood director would both be on The Simpsons and do a movie for Disney?
Yeah, I'm just saying, dude.
It's just it's just weird hearing Zack Snyder does a Disney movie. It's like weird,
yeah, exactly.
Just like Disney's Deadpool. I'm like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I don't know enough about his relationship with Netflix. The one thing that was interesting, that they talked about, I think it was Theo Rossi, who I guess maybe wouldn't necessarily wouldn't know the details of the arrangement, but that they talked about a lot with his Netflix relationship is that basically it's less of like a studio and more like, he said, like Stone Quarry is vertically integrated, as in like the Army of the Dead production is like Stone Quarry top to bottom, and Netflix is like Stone Quarry joined Netflix's organization, and Netflix like wrote a check, but Stone Quarry does like the whole production pipeline goes through them instead of like and I don't know if that's how common that is, if they have their own resources, or I can imagine Netflix being the type of place where like every studio kind of works ad hoc like that, and it maybe keeps resources down. But regardless of if it's how normal it is, it's such a great. He even said he's like he's like, I don't mean to imply they're like uninterested, because they're watching dailies and they'll give feedback, but like I've never once gotten like a note from them that is like, can we change, like, and he'll say that like they have ideas, but it's never like a studio note idea. Right. It's always like oh, hey, this is cool. But otherwise they're like, if he says no, I'm gonna do it my way, they're like, okay, cool. I just thought that'd be cool.
Hey, what if Zach's female sci-fi adventure is actually an alien prequel that has what's her name? I forgot her actual name, but Noomi Rapace. No.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Prometheus.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess maybe this
Prometheus.
isn't the right mindset because he is working on a Arthurian thing.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like he, especially with anything Disney related, is gonna try to stay away from IP that he doesn't own.
Right. Well, but then again, it's Fox, though. You know what I mean? And if Ridley Scott's, I mean, Blade Runner is one of his favorite films, right? I mean, what if it was a Ridley Scott produced, Zack Snyder directed film? Like, or not film, but series.
Somebody even in the comments said Zack Snyder's Aliens. Like, how?
Yeah, like, dude.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, Ridley Scott is working on the. I don't think that's going to be the same as because even if he did work on that, because that's supposed to be a TV show, right? For Hulu.
Series. Yeah.
So I feel like maybe it'd be awesome if he directed episodes of that, but they were kind of like off in like total speculation territory. But I think that his female protagonist is an completely original idea. Yeah.
And Dice just said, "What if it's Blade Runner 3?"
Right. Well, the only other thing I could think of that would be like major would be like a Planet of the Apes type Zack Snyder film or series. Like,
and then he corrected himself. Blade Runners, plural.
Yeah.
Like Alien.
Blade Runners with the 3 as the S. No,
yeah.
Oh no! I fucking hate when they do
I know.
titles. God,
no, not the S, the E.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The 3.
Blade Runner, and then you have the E.
Oh man, I hate that so bad.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but no, I think what I'm really curious about with Army is that you've got, first of all, the future of the franchise is really interesting because everything so far is prequels. But also that you've got an anime series coming out that tells the story of like the zombie war that happens before the movie happens, in like the Nevada desert, and then you've got Army of Thieves, which is the Matthias Schweighöfer.
By the way, the fact that the safe designer, his name is Wagner, and each of the saves is named after a opera in the Ring cycle. I was nerding out.
I know.
I saw you internally going, "Oh my god!"
Well, no.
Yeah,
As soon as you said that, you're like, "Oh, then that's the reason why it's named the Gutnot or whatever it was called."
Dalton
I was like-
Damerong. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I see what's happening
But
here."
when was it Debbie, I think, or Wes? I think Debbie said that Army of Thieves is basically a romantic comedy heist.
Yeah,
So
rom-com.
I was like, finally, like, think of that was kind of what the DCEU under Zach was gonna be. But like, finally, we've got a shared universe where this is not a zombie. It's not even a zombie shared universe because Army of Thieves.
It's just a world.
The zombie outbreak is contained in Nevada / Vegas. So even if this is happening at the same time or after Germany, like, it's not like zombies got to Germany or wherever the heist is happening. And so it might be like a Mute, I think it was. Yeah, Mute, where they had like the moon Easter eggs on the TV.
Yes.
So maybe you'll get a situation like that
courthouse.
where like on the TV in the background they're reporting on like the pandemic in Nevada or whatever. But otherwise it's not a zombie movie. It's not it's not even necessarily an action movie. It's a romantic comedy heist. And so I'm wondering, we've got 3 totally different properties and 3 different mediums, like that. You got animation, series. So like, what does that mean for how the franchise continues? Especially, I feel like the thing that he's embracing the most isn't like the zombies, and it's not even. I think that like the alpha zombies aren't even actually zombies. I think that the Shamblers are zombies, but I think the alphas are something else. That I think the infection is like a symbiote type of situation.
Symbiote.
Where like it enhances them, and so they're like undead, or they're not dead, they're like enhanced. And then
but they're also taken over, like they don't have control.
The people that don't survive the conversion process are the ones that become Shamblers, and they are dead, but they are animated because of whatever the virus is. Whoever survives, because they get a more pure transmission, I feel like are the ones that end up being the alpha zombies, which I think means that like going forward, you're going to ditch the undead Shambler zombie kind of concept entirely, and you're going to move into like a straight up sci-fi super soldier something. You could do totally different genres, especially because what Zach talks about whenever it's like, why another zombie movie? What he talks about isn't like, oh, zombies are cool. He talks about, I wanted to pick a genre that's like ripe for subversion. And you've got zombie genre and the heist genre are both like, people know those tropes. And I want to take those tropes, and I really want to he's been using the phrase have fun without making fun.
Well, and he talks about the tropes of the tropes of the the tropes of the tropes of the tropisms, and I also look at the movies that he references. Like he talks about the inspirations from Planet of the Apes, Aliens, The Thing, Escape from New York, and and I watched Escape from New York and The Thing leading up to the panel, and but when you specifically mention those movies, it's fun to look at them and go, okay, there's the obvious connection there. Where's the unobvious connection that I'm not going to get until I actually watch this movie?
Yeah. Well, dude, and then you got Dave Bautista going, I can't believe how it ends. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Like, ending.
I know, he's like, I watched it 5 times, and he goes, I can't get enough of like the ending.
I mean, hearing him talk about it, I'm like, holy shit.
Well, he talked about a surprise like character appearance, which to me, I immediately look at like the animated series and I think like, okay, Christian Slater, Joe Manganiello, Harry Lennox,
maybe
like who shows up, but like also like who else was on set? Like what actors were on set that we know of that like Momoa? What did Momoa stop by for? Why was Momoa in Nevada for a day?
But even if he like, that's not a big, like, dude, Jason Momoa, right?
But if you're gonna have a Nick Fury type, like you're gonna whatever happens at the end, and they defeat the zombies, or they become zombies, or they whatever, or they team up with the zombies, or the alphas or whatever. However that storyline kind of plays out, the aliens invade and they side with the zombies, or it turns out that the government is evil and the zombies are good, so they whatever, and then some dude shows up and is like, I don't know who's gonna like. I need you to join the zombie initiative. I mean, I don't mean to totally rip off the MCU, but I mean, it's, like if you're gonna have a surprise character appearance at the end, that is the nature of what you're talking about here. Is like, let's take your first steps into the larger world. And so I'm really curious about who that is. So like I said, I look at the animated series about like what actors are in that. Obviously, the assumption is like maybe they die, but also that could be setting up characters that appear at the end of Army. Or, like I said, Momoa was on set. We know for a fact for a brief period of time. And if it's just one scene setting up a sequel, that's and you're gonna need I based on this is not anything that like they said on set explicitly or even inferred, but if you read the interview with Batista, he's like not into action leading roles. He wants to move into directing. He wants to do dramatic roles. The only reason he did this movie was because of Zach, because he wanted to steal from him as a director. And also he was talking about like doing TV, and he said something like, "Oh yeah, there's this TV show that I want to do, but it's a 6-month commitment, and I'm 50, and so I'm kind of counting like that's a big, if I'm trying to do these things with my career, I got to really be careful at what I pick." And I'm like, there's no way. I don't know if he's necessarily killed off, but like he didn't sign up to do a zombie franchise.
Well, he didn't sign up to do one film.
And so who's going to be your like male lead for like the sequel? Like that, if you're bringing in a new character and like you're going to, that would be like, how insane would that be to like, and then it's to be like, oh, Army of the Dead 2 starring Jason Momoa arrives in 2023.
Maybe 2024, probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, depending on what it is. I mean, because this movie could have come out. It was supposed to come out in January, but Tig Notaro and the pandemic slowed it down. Yeah. But they with Netflix they could do it. They could do it fast, especially if like the question is like Zach's schedule or people's schedules. But who's to say Zach is going to direct the sequel? He's already not directing one of the prequels, and he's only directing a little bit of the animated series. As the like showrunner or like overlord of this universe, the Army of the Dead verse or whatever it's going to be called, someone else could be coming in to direct the sequel.
Hashtag Armyverse, because we have Army of the Dead and Army of Thieves. I really feel like Army's the brand.
Yeah. Which even then it's still kind of like, it's funny because it's not really an army. Like it is just, these people are civilians and. Whatever.
Well, the Army is referring to
the dead.
Because Zeus breaks out of Area 51 and then goes to Vegas, and they wall off Vegas. And when they go in, what they find is that when Zeus bites people, he turns them into alphas. But then when the alphas bite people, they turn into shamblers. So they find out Zeus has been in Vegas creating an army of alpha zombies. So that's the army. Is the army that he's creating now? Why is he creating an army? Does he want revenge? Does he know something?
Spaceship?
Is he
a frontline invasion force?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
is this irredeemable, but in a zombie version? Like...
Well, and they talk a lot about how they wanted people to have sympathy for the zombies and how they and how in a zombie movie. I mean, this is unequivocally, it's been stated by multiple times by multiple people in productions that in zombie movies, the humans are the bad guys. And so it's kind of hard to see a scenario where, like, I'm not going to say the zombies are necessarily the good guys, but there's not a scenario where, like, the movie gets to the end, unless it's going to be like a dark ending where it's like, oh, and the humans win on behalf of the U.S. government. like the government, there was something going on in Area 51. The government is going to nuke Vegas. Like, there is shady stuff going on, and the government knows something that people don't know. Zach teased that like maybe the robot zombies that are in Vegas are are put there by the government to monitor something, or maybe they're from sci-fi. But regardless of exactly why they're there, it's clear that the government is like knows something about what's going on and doesn't want people to find out about it. And so that's really fascinating to think about for this movie, but also really fascinating to think about, like, what does this mean for whatever comes next in the timeline?
Yeah.
But also, how do you continue?
Remember that Henry Lennox is the Secretary of Defense. So
Oh God, it's so good.
You know, we have a Martian running. You know, the defense department.
There it is. But then we also got to remember too is like we're gonna get a Zack Snyder style opening montage.
Yeah,
of
Watchmen.
the
Oh.
fucking out of the outbreak. That's
Yes.
what I cannot fucking wait for.
Yeah.
Well, with
I
them
really
holding up
wanna
their
know what the-
pictures of their civilian
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
like
Oh
you
my
get their
God, man.
yes.
I really well, and you look at and you can see some of those shots too. I think Dice is
Yeah.
mad. I remember both mad, but because we did a whole we talked for like 2.5 hours the other night instead of recording a Justice League by the Minute episode.
God damn it, dude! I've been
Um,
literally waiting. I'm like,
and
what the fuck, man?
well, we're gonna do that, and we ended up talking about this stuff for 2.5 hours, and then the call ended, and my Skype recorder was busted, so we lost all of it.
Oh.
But
Oh,
there's a
shit.
bunch of shots where, like, if you go back into the trailer, look at like the shot of the zombie Elvis with the
Yeah.
Eiffel Tower falling. That is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't say
Montage.
100%, but it is. I'm betting that is the Molotov cocktail scene at the from like the Watchmen, the ending of the Watchmen opening montage where it
Yeah, yeah.
fades to black. That is.
Oh, and
the
also him,
end
and
of-
the guy on the tank. You know?
Yeah. And but the more I watch that the zombie Elvis with the tower falling, I'm like, that's totally like the end of that that montage that opening montage. But I have to know what that needle drop is. That's been but ever since I found out that there was they did an opening montage like that. I've been like, what is this? And I've even looking on it.
Oh, you mean for the song?
What's
Yeah.
the song choice? Yeah. You
Yeah.
gotta wonder.
Well, I'm
I
also
mean-
kind of curious, is it going to be like a clean one, or is Hulkenborg going to do like I've been wondering. That was a question that was in my list, but the conversation just never
Got
flowed that way, because I mean, you've had the Lucky Day Judy Garland in the teaser,
Right,
you had the
yeah.
Gambler in the trailer, and you know, and Tom did that great Littlest Conversation Elvis Presley remix. So I'm like,
Mhm.
do we get some cool vague?
That would be awesome. I guess maybe not that exact same one. Although that is a
Right,
great,
but
that would be a cool
yeah.
song to use for the needle drop, though, especially because it's Tom Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
Well, maybe an updated version, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, especially 'cause there's a lot of
still,
Elvises.
but it's Vegas.
It's gotta
Yeah.
be Elvis, right?
Well, you know, you could
I
get
mean-
Elvis, you could get Sinatra or
Yeah,
Martin.
easily, dude. If it's
either
not
one.
Sinatra.
if it's not
I did it
Sinatra
my
my
way.
way, come on, yeah, absolutely.
That
Dude.
way, yes.
Like, come on, like you could just imagine that fucking just, you know, you have the like opening piano, like just like it sounds like a slow motion type.
Oh,
Dun,
jeez. I
dun,
just
dun,
remembered
dun.
Richard
What?
Cheese did something for this movie.
Yeah, he did something for the movie
Oh,
too. So
Because and the only reason we know that is because he said something about it on Twitter.
he was like, "I'm going to do this movie or something," but
But
then
I don't
also
even think he
Zack
said Army.
said-
He just said something about recording something for
Yeah.
Zack Snyder, and then he referenced Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, okay, so what is he
Yeah.
doing in here?
Because he's got a song because he's got the sickness song in
Yeah,
Dawn
yeah.
of the Dead.
I almost like that version more than the Disturbed
the original version.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that, but even then, though, like having Frank Sinatra is like my way. The original version, like, is still like,
Yeah,
you
hold
know,
on,
just
props.
normal, like, just seeing it kind of progress.
Do you
Like,
have
imagine you're.
Do you have enough
Well-
footage to make a Sinatra trailer?
I mean, I probably could, right? But you know, at the end of the day, what's that?
Look at that.
Ocean's 11.
He's got the
Oh,
original.
yeah, the original.
Ocean's 11.
Oh, okay, the
The
original.
original Ocean's 11. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, you would pay it would pay homage to that, but also like the lyrics, like doing it your way, right? I mean, that could tie to
Yeah.
Zeus. That could tie to all the characters that are like doing it their own way, right? They're not following anything else, but also there's a line in there that I can relate to. That's also like, you know, I bit off more than I could chew. but,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, hey, look, I'm gonna still go for it. Like, but then again, you know, we could also be talking out of our ass. It could not even be there. But I'm just saying, you know, that'd be dope.
I'm
to have
surprised that you're not putting money down on My Way and
that. I know. It's because because the thought is so fresh that I
Yeah.
can't be so confident to tweet a GIF out yet.
well, we'll give it a few days.
Give me
We'll
like-
give it
yeah, give
the
me a
next
day or
real
something.
emotion, and you're gonna be like, come find me
Yeah.
and kill me if I'm wrong, because
Right. That's the extreme I go to. I'm like, nah,
Oh.
fuck it. I'm not.
all I gotta say, Dave, is the next time you get Tom back on, these are the questions. Like
These are the questions.
These are the questions.
And hopefully we can get him back on before Army, because I mean, he even said that he wanted to come back. So.
Well, and I want to know, like, I know Netflix does do physical releases of the soundtracks, because like I've got the Enola Holmes soundtrack, but it's like now okay, I got my Justice League vinyl pre-ordered. I'm good on that. Okay, so Army, when's Army coming out? I'm ready. I'm ready for. I need another fix.
And I'll just say this too. Like I put, you know, the scene of the League when Batman's in his Batmobile, and you have the hero shot, and then they go through the building.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw this video on YouTube, or it was YouTube or Twitter. I can't remember. Anyways, I saw it, and they had put some of the BVS soundtrack on it, and I was like, I'm curious. Like I wanted to put it on there, and I put like the Batman Warehouse track, and listen, dude, it did not have the same feeling. It felt so out of place, and I'm like, dude, but it felt like all the points were hitting right with the music and on the beats. Like I could line up a certain, like when the hero shot is, I could line up a part. But as I was watching it, I was like, dude, I know I understood why he created a new Batman theme and just a new theme in general, because when I played that music, it did not give me the same feeling that the original score that he created gives in that scene. And it was like odd. It was almost like haunting, because I was like, dude, that's so weird. Like I would have thought you could have just placed it on the Justice League score or Justice League film, and it'll go well, because you know it's Junkee, it's haunt. But no, dude, it's like different, dude. It's weird.
I'm just gonna be really curious if Junkee I mean, it's Vegas, so there's a certain sound that you just you know, it'd be a trope, but there's certain Vegas sounds that you can play with. I mean, even Debbie talked about, we have a zombie tiger, because who doesn't think of Siegfried and Roy? And like they're not shying away from
anything,
even the Vegas tropes.
Well,
and I love that Zach said
I would love to
hear. Yeah, it's not obvious until it is, right? Like, who would have thought about a fucking zombie tiger? I would have.
Yeah, and
so I'm thinking about Tom doing some sort of the Vegas, you know, either the Elvis or the Rat Pack or the Judy Garland, or get some of that swinging, like Hulkenberg's version of the swinging 60s. Like, I want to know what that sounds like now.
Well, even like the shot of like you literally have zombies from a bachelorette party and the Chippendales dancers right there, and they're all zombies. And it's like, yes, they are totally capturing every little bit of Vegas,
and they go crazy. Like one of the things that I haven't transcribed, Stephanie Porter, I think, the costume designer.
Oh, nice.
I've got an interview with her from the set that still needs to go up, but I was just listening to it earlier, and she talks about we've only seen like a tiny piece of what they do with this. I mean, they've got tons of Elvises. They've got showgirls. They got the guy from Fractured Effects was talking about how they've got like zombie strippers. They've got they made a big deal about.
I want to see a zombie, magician, just like still like going on.
If you watch the trailer, there's a spot where there's these like pillars, and they're coming up on top of this little hill, and there's zombies coming up, and there's one coming from the side, but then if you look over on the other side, there's one like climbing over a rock, and it's got like the green transparent visor on. He's like dressed like a
poker dealer.
Yeah. But they made the costume designer made a big deal about not even just like the Vegas trappings, but
nice.
But they've got they said they've got like a lot of Midwestern tourists is what they described it. And I was like, excuse me. But
you
where
are Midwestern,
but where they've got like, just give them like, or they said like a lot of old, like they've got like a lot of grandma and grandpa who are in town for a wedding or something, like just like tourist people. I asked if they had any like celebrity cameos, and they said no, like explicit cameos, but there are a lot of like that could be so and so moments. So like if anyone has ever like been to Vegas or like is familiar at all with just like the nature of just like the crazy think I've talked to a few people that are like I mentioned, they saw like the stroller in one of the shots or in the trailer or something. That's nobody's got kids in Vegas. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh yeah,
You've got everybody is in
Vegas.
Vegas. You can be like, at a restaurant at like 3 a.m. and there's grandma and grandpa there. There's the family of 5 with like 3 like 2-year-olds over here.
Jesus.
The bachelorette party over there. Like it's just
getting
like,
a $4.99 fucking prime rib somewhere. Oh yeah.
yeah, like everybody from like everywhere in the world is in the same place at the same time for like completely different reasons, and it's like insanity. And so that just scratches the surface of like kind of some of the ridiculous stuff they're going to do with zombies in this. Like think of the target practice scene in
Dawn of the Dead
and Dawn of the Dead and
Burt Reynolds
turn that into an entire movie of like it was interesting because I asked I was like, how many different like styles of Elvis do you have? Because I mean, you've got like all the Elvises have their own, like you think of like clowns, and like every clown has their own like design for makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think we only have like 4 or 5 like Elvis designs that we just kind of recycle. But there's a lot of Elvises. They're just, you don't necessarily see any of them close enough for each one to merit its own like unique. Is
there going to be like a zombie Chris Angel or something like that?
I hope so. I mean, that's the kind of thing I imagine when they said like they don't have explicit cameos, but like I imagine there'll be someone that shows up where it's like that's clearly meant to be like a David Blaine, Chris Angel, something or other,
like, or David Copperfield. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I want to see that.
Yeah, and you got Cirque du Soleil and just like
well, yeah, we
Blue
know
Man
that.
Group,
Zombie
Blue Man Group,
right.
Oh man, there's so much they could do. Oh yeah, like a even like there's literally in Vegas there's a Beatles, tribute band that does fucking a Beatles performance.
Yeah,
could be something like that too.
Well, dude, I mean, at the end of the day, like Richard Cheese could also be a zombie because they do stuff in Vegas, like
comedians. There could be some comedians that show up.
Someone mentioned Carrot. Is it you that mentioned Carrot Top last time?
Carrot Top. Yeah, that would be. He'd be perfect because you could recognize it's him because
you just need a red wig on a shambler. Like,
oh, that's got to be in there. There's no way that's not. He's totally that's his home right there. And
the zombie's just carrying around a bag full of random
a trunk, just dragging a trunk full of shit. Wow,
dude, I feel like they're giving him so much to play with in that world that, at the end of the day, like listen to how excited he was talking about Army of the Dead. And
I know.
Like, dude, at the end of the day, Warner Brothers doesn't deserve that. Like he doesn't like, because like in my head, I'm going, dude, why the fuck would you not want to take advantage of what Zach is like? He is one of the hottest directors. Nobody's talking about any other director right now.
That's very true.
And I think people are starting to realize because of the trailers and the interviews and hopefully because of the set visit coverage a little bit that like I think
we didn't care about those.
I think people assumed like, oh, okay, he's just going back to do like a low budget, going back to his roots for a streaming service. It's just a palate cleanser, like, and so. Not that people weren't excited about it, but they were like, it was just like a pure Snyder movie. And that's all well and good, but like, I want to know what he's going to do next. But, and that's why it's been so hard to be like, no, you guys don't understand. Like this movie is like, and it's even crazy for me learning all this stuff on set and then watching the trailers. And it's like even bigger than I realized having been told all that stuff, but like, it's huge. And it's just the first of like, it's going to set up because he says he doesn't say this explicitly, but he said in a few interviews, and like one of the ones on set where like I think what I asked him was why, it was either the question of like why is this a sequel or like why is this the next movie that you're
why
doing?
is it not a sequel or something like that?
And what he said was like well it was never. He told me it was never a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, like even in its original inception, and he said and the reason was because the core idea was that he wanted to do something else with these zombies, which would require him like, and he's talking about the alpha zombies, but he says, I wanted to do something that was sort of an evolution that needed a new mythos because I couldn't just tack it on to what had happened in Dawn of the Dead. And
because you wouldn't, because there was no hierarchy. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and so because I didn't think about it as much at the time, because I was just thinking like, yeah, that makes sense, whatever. But then after kind of seeing all the stuff that came together when I was transcribing that interview, it kind of clicked for me that not that this movie is just a stepping stone or anything, because clearly there's all sorts of other stuff going on. But what he's talking about in that answer is getting to a point where this army of the dead or whatever that he was building exists. So like the core idea that he's working at here is something that he wants to do with this type of the alpha zombies. Whatever it is that is special about the alpha zombies is what he's really actually interested in. And this movie is all about establishing the foundation for the alpha zombies. And then the sequel is like, here, this is why I thought alpha zombies were fucking cool. This is the movie that's going to showcase that.
True that. All right, Scott, you got to take off.
I got to take off because, we have a stream tomorrow night, by the way. So
that's very true. And
so, guys, it's been a pleasure. Always great to spend my Friday night with you guys.
Yep.
So, audience, tune in tomorrow at 7 Central.
Yes,
that would be 5 Pacific.
Yep.
For Batman the Animated Stream, where Dave and I will be talking about Christmas with the Joker.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a good time.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter at.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at ScottDC27. You can find my podcast, the DC Film Squadcast, wherever podcasts can be found. We're on Vero, Facebook, YouTube. You can find the entire network of shows at squadcastmedia.com.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Follow him.
Guys.
Make sure. All right. We'll see you later, man. All right, cool.
Man, dude, Dave, you're not even going to be able to talk now.
What?
You're just not gonna be able to talk, dude. It's gonna be me and Steven the whole fucking time.
Hey, what are you talking about? I'm putting it in there. What are you?
I'm just kidding.
About?
That's phrasing. I'm just kidding around.
I know.
No, man. Listen, man. I'm as somebody that's like full on fucking excited about this Army of the Dead, film. Like, listen, I'm all. It's gonna be so weird because there's nothing like it on Netflix. Like at the end of the day,
nothing.
There's really nothing like it, dude.
Well, what I wanted to kind of like, transition to was about the, the numbers. They're going to be releasing those.
They're going to be releasing those the fucking moment it's the biggest goddamn thing. I promise you.
Well, I think something that has been a little bit lost in the conversation about the numbers, Paul actually mentioned it earlier, is that they don't have to release anything, but not only do they not have to, but also it doesn't really it's important because it establishes how big of a success it was, but they know what the numbers are, so it's not like we need the numbers to convince AT&T. The numbers are purely a PR thing. So the reason they're withholding them is because they don't want it to be used to empower people to ask for more, but they know already. So they know what the numbers are and they're saying no anyway. No, that it means either it was a disappointment, which let's be frank, it's a 4-hour long R-rated movie that had multiple attempts at sabotage, and other things going on. So it's entirely possible that it just didn't explode. Although I think that it's pretty clear that it did at least comparable to other blockbusters. It didn't bomb by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not doubting that it came in just under Wonder Woman 1984 or Godzilla versus Kong or whatever. I don't see a reason to believe that it totally decimated those with the numbers. But even if it did, AT&T knows that, and they're withholding the numbers not because they're lying to themselves, but because they don't want people who are on the fence because I think that the whole conversation surrounding box office or performance of movies has always been kind of fucked because it's exclusively PR. Now with theatrical, you can't hide that because it is gathered data that is outside of your ecosystem. Theaters know how much they collected. They report the numbers. Box office is a publicly known figure. So so studios' reaction to box office is always like to spin it or to contextualize it. But for streaming revenue, the only thing they're going to release is like numbers that make them look good or serve their purposes. And there's no reason to release anything other than what serves their agenda. And so that's not to say like stop asking for numbers or whatever, but them giving or not giving the numbers isn't really going to have a huge sway on their perception of whether or not there should be more. It's just going to be preventing like mainstream news from saying, oh wow, Zack Snyder's Justice League was actually really successful. Why aren't they doing more?
Yeah, I mean, like that's one of the things I mentioned last night too, is the fact that it's almost like you could take all the information that came out yesterday and spin it to whatever way. Like, oh, the numbers are horrible. Look at this. But then all of a sudden you look at it this way and it goes, well, that looks pretty good too, because there's that whole demographic, the numbers about going up against Netflix. Yeah, Netflix got like 4 million global, but domestically with Canada, it was way less than what HBO Max got. And I'm like, yeah, that's you got to look at it like that. I guess you could say you got to break it down.
Well,
like that, so,
but the other thing too is that they announced the Snyder Cut coming up on HBO Max literally 7 days before launch. Right? I joined up on launch.
Yeah.
Well, you can't tell. They can't tell me as a customer that I joined specifically for the Snyder Cut.
Exactly.
They can't tell that. They don't know that. I mean,
again, we're in new territory here. I mean, how do you gauge all this shit? You can't.
Exactly.
Box office, very easily. Look at the numbers. Go to box office.
But even then, though, it's like, again, and I liked what Paul said too, is like, well, dude, they still, Netflix still cancels shows.
Yeah.
Without giving a reason.
Without even revealing numbers.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are like, why'd you cancel that? I love that show. Everybody talks about
it. Everybody's talking about it. Why'd you cancel it? It's like, well.
But it could be any number of reasons, like a shit ton of reasons of why.
Well, and then when we talk about like the idea of like restoring the Snyderverse and that it would take like the stars aligning for it to happen, and like the stars aligned for the Snyder Cut. So that's not to say that it can't or won't happen or is less likely to happen or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, for example, AT&T saying, you know what, let's look into this is the first step of 100 steps. So like first,
even then though, what does restore the Snyderverse mean?
Yeah.
What is that? What is it?
And
well,
let's say AT&T says like, let's do this. And Zach says, okay, cool. And they're like, but we're not going to do whatever. Then he's going to say, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah.
So they've got to say, let's do this. Then they've got to agree to terms with him. And then they've got to convince all the cast and crew, or not necessarily the crew, but all the cast to come back. And like, and so I think that the fact that he's not like saying like only I can direct it, frees that up quite a bit. But
yes,
it is a
lot.
Exactly. Well, and especially like being so excited about Army of the Dead, like this, it would be a huge win. It'd be so cool to see the Snyderverse restored. I want to see the story done. It'd be a huge win for Zach against the studio. Like there's so many things about that would be cool, but also like that's going to be another 5 years of his life minimum.
Maybe. Maybe.
Like that is assuming it gets like greenlit tomorrow and he gets to working on it right away. And all the actors drop their entire schedule and sign up. I mean, we're probably talking like 7 years, maybe 6 years, whatever.
Maybe
before this is all done. Meanwhile,
before we get one piece of it.
Meanwhile, he could just go balls to the walls with stuff that just doesn't have Batman in it. And like I could see that next year, right? Like I could see some like I could see Army of the Dead, and I could see like some fucking insane Zack Snyder projects in 2022 and 2023, and 2024 and 2025. In perpetuity, or he could change.
I could wait
Warner Brothers
6 years,
again, and we
not see a damn thing.
We're gonna finish that, and so it's if I'm fully supportive of it, and I hope that it would be awesome for them to come around, but like we are in a place where like the Snyder Cut was a huge win, and he is now like I think it's vindication in a lot of ways, and now he's got an opportunity to make all the stuff that he hasn't had a chance to make in recent years, and in a way that other studios wouldn't have ever let him do it, and I can't only not be unenthused for that. Is that the right? Is that a double negative?
Well, yeah,
But
because
I also
no,
can't
because
say that like I don't like prefer it in a way.
exactly, because you're like,
long-term.
why would you
Like-
want to go back to the studio that's like, no, well, but the
Yeah.
moment that you're going,
But we promise it'll be better this
Yeah.
time.
unless
you
it's,
know,
like,
no,
pre-arranged.
like when you already have a relationship with Netflix going, now just do it, whatever.
Yeah,
We'll talk
Yeah.
about it. We'll,
kind of
we'll
hard
burn
to
that
go
bridge when we
back to
get to
the.
it.
Well,
Yeah,
and he talked to us in the and it was crazy. So we were sitting at actually Paul told the story wrong because he said we were sitting in the cafeteria and he just like slapped his tray down. No, we met up with him like outside the cafeteria and we all walked in together and it was pasta day. And Zach is like starts singing when we walk in. He's like, "Oh, it's a spicy meatball." I'm like, "What are you
oh, that's awesome.
doing?"
Yeah,
And then
that
he like
sounds
goes
like
up, like makes the
something
round, and then he comes and he sits down. And then and we do the interview, and then he says someone said something. He started talking about Netflix, like the relationship with Netflix. Like, yeah, we just had a meeting with them, and I was like, started telling them about this project, and they were like, "Wait, what? It's zombies in Vegas, but it's a heist, and some of the zombies are fast and smart." And like, and just like when he's like, and then Deb jumps in and she's like, can we shoot next week? And he's and like, so, but the way that they were even talking about just like how insanely like they told Netflix like, hey, look, we've got this project we've been thinking about doing, and Netflix was like, please. And the fact that like it's like, for example, fans today are like, oh yeah, we've been campaigning for restore the SnyderVerse, and Zack Snyder's Justice League did huge and they won't do it, and yet Captain America 4 gets announced the day after Falcon and Winter Soldier, which underperformed compared to Zack Snyder's Justice League. And it's like that's a 100% valid point. And you're totally right. So why not go to the studio that's saying, please make more for us?
Right.
Please make whatever you want. Make a Greek mythology show. Make a prequel anime about the zombie war. Make Army of the Dead. Make whatever you want, however you want. Just make it for us.
Yeah.
So you can do that, or you can go to the place that we got to beg them to make the Batman movies.
Yeah, we got to beg them to literally tell us about the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even about like sequels. It's like, well, how did it perform? Like, if you guys
can't see the numbers.
Yeah, like, dude, they're not even giving us the fucking numbers. You think they're gonna allow Zach to just like unchained, like, yeah, make your own movie? Like, no, dude. Fuck Warner Brothers, man. I've never seen a studio be so fucking incompetent of running a business.
Well,
But
they
Dave, what were you gonna say though?
remember they passed up on Army of the Dead. You know?
I know they did.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
crazy.
Well, you were gonna say something, Dave, and you
I
were
know. I totally
say-
forgot what it was now.
We're talking about the visit, but also being free, Zach doing his own thing, the cast and crew.
Well, I mean, I know
6
like one
years.
of the hardest parts would be, bringing the cast back. I mean, like you said, like Steven said, they're already like, a lot of them.
Dude, gal's pregnant.
Yes, she's pregnant,
she's
and not
out,
to mention she's a movie star now. She's not.
Yeah.
Missing one of her fingertips.
Yes.
You guys see that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
What the fuck?
On Kimmel, she said she was day drinking, cut off one of her fingertips while she was chopping
Wow.
cabbage.
Holy shit!
I mean, she showed her finger. It looks like
All right, so that
tip off.
just tells me
But-
that gal would be perfect for the vodka stream. She likes to, have
Yeah.
a couple drinks.
No, she said she had to quit day drinking because of that.
Well, I
but-
mean, this is not day drinking. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's even if everybody was on board, like even if WB said let's do it, and Zach said cool, let's do it, and the cast said let's do it, unless they're all just gonna jettison their schedules, like Affleck especially, we talk a lot about how his schedule is packed. So, and this is not to say it's like out of the realm of possibility. It's just like you've got two options. And to say it simplistically, on one hand, you've got a studio that doesn't want to support you, that doesn't want to enable you, that doesn't want to do what you want, that doesn't want to make what your fans want to do,
That doesn't want to even work with you again.
and it's a nightmare to work with.
Yeah.
That it's going to take longer to do this stuff. And then
That doesn't look like you want the content.
a cast who's all booked up, and out of contract, and so new contracts would be more expensive to renegotiate, and then you've also got like the stupid, like, forget the studio, then you've just got the stupid like Batman hot takes and Superman hot takes from the
not my Superman, not my Batman.
from social media or whatever. And then on the other hand, you've got like original projects with movies, TV shows, sequels, prequels, shared universes,
freedom.
like and a studio begging you to make stuff for them. Like he wasn't even signed with them yet, and he was like, "Oh, I've got this Army of the Dead project," and they're like, "When can you make it? Can you shoot this summer?" Like it's night and day. Doesn't even describe the difference. Like, how can you not be like, yes, do that 100%, go do that? Look at all the Stone Quarry stuff. I mean, not like we're not going to get more Stone Quarry stuff in general, like from other directors, if he goes and does more Justice League. But I don't know. It's so weird to have this conversation because obviously people are going to be like, "How dare you guys like give up on the cause?"
No, but it's not even that. It's not even giving up. It's like, dude, well, what would you do? You want to see him happy or do you want to see him fucking not happy? I don't know. It's weird to me. Like I'm not a selfish person. I would never tell somebody to do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like Zach said it all in Justice Con basically is, listen, he doesn't want to tell people to stop campaigning because, dude, I mean, that he's not going to do that.
No, man, but it's all, I mean.
Well, one of the things that he said, like I said, in the interview on set about the Snyder Cut specifically, part of the reason he said he's not going to like tell people to move on is because he wants to respect the fact that a lot of people have given up a lot of time, of effort,
energy,
money, etc. for this. And so he's aware of how much people care about it. And so he's not going to tell them.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
There you go. See, go.
Yeah, it came back to me. But I mean, first off, talking to Nicholas, thank you for the donation. When talking about like, the reason why they were cut short, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's hard to like grasp. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, when it comes to Godzilla vs. Kong, I can almost understand why they cut it to just, hey, let's just have the two Titans fight and that's it. I can understand that. Mortal Kombat, different thing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just,
like I said, Mortal Kombat should have been a series, man.
Yeah, they saw the assembly cut and went, no, it's not working. I don't know. But no, what I was gonna say was when it came to restore the SnyderVerse, I saw a poll that said, what would you want first? And it had 4, and it said, restore the SnyderVerse, release the air cut. And I went, isn't that almost in the same vein? If they release the air cut, that's almost a part of restoring the SnyderVerse because Ayer was, coming off the SnyderVerse. So I kind of almost went, put those together. And I went, if they release the air cut, that is almost a chunk of restoring the SnyderVerse because he was heavily going, okay, what is Zach doing? We're talking. I'm going to go off of what he's doing kind of thing. So that's what I was thinking of earlier.
The other thing about the like, let's forget about the whole like
2-hour studio.
Move on from the whole like
said that about Warner Brothers, the 2-hour studio.
There's a joke there. I'll figure it out. But let's move on from the whole like forget about it. Netflix is way better thing, and say like, okay, so let's just say we're gonna commit to the restore the SnyderVerse idea, and people are gonna keep on fighting for that. There's such a like. You've got the air cut, which I would agree, I think is part of restoring the SnyderVerse, but like also you get all, whenever this stuff comes up, you've got really purely speaking to me, as far as Zach is concerned, to me, restore the SnyderVerse means Justice League 2 and 3.
Yeah.
The Batman.
I'm just saying it was like a chunk of it.
Yeah.
Like
the Batman from Affleck would be a perk, and I feel like Suicide Squad would be like just a logical, obvious addition.
A freebie. That'd be like a freebie.
But like, I feel like every single poster I see is like all these like other. You got the Batman on there, you got air cut, and almost every single one of them is like, and Man of Steel 2, which like I think goes to show you like even with even the fans don't restore the SnyderVerse plan isn't like there is no Man of Steel 2. There never was a Man of Steel 2. I mean, Batman v Superman is Man of Steel 2.
Yes, technically BVS.
And so like, but I don't want to go. I don't want to pull the like give him out the cookie thing because that's not the point that I'm making. But that you've got like fans just want to see more DC content from him, and I get that. I understand it. I love DC. I love Zack Snyder. I love Zack Snyder's DC content, and I'd love to see more of it, especially Justice League 2 and 3. It'd be awesome if he could get back to producing. It'd be awesome to see the Batman, Ayer cut, Fami was, and all that stuff is separate from Zack. Zack isn't necessary for Affleck's Batman to happen. But there's a there's a lot of revisionist history in the movement, because a lot of people said, because bloggers would accuse them of like, well, it was only Justice League was not the end. So they said, so when they release that, you're still not going to have the full story. And they said, no, that'll be enough. We just need closure for Zack, and that the project exists. And then they immediately jumped into Restore the Snyderverse, like, which is great. But so many people swore up and down, like, no, it's just about the Snyder Cut. We don't need anything else. And so, like, at what point, like, are they going to say, like, will there be another campaign after Restore the Snyderverse? Like, will it be like Make Kingdom Come or whatever? I'd love that too. Zack Snyder Kingdom Come would be like a dream come true.
Dude, I'd rather this is what I'd rather have. And I know this is I'm gonna get heat, but you know what?
Good.
At the end of the day,
Let it happen.
Fuck it, I don't really care.
Yeah,
Listen,
exactly.
if because of so many scenarios of Justice League even fucking happening, right? Like, for it to even happen, I'd rather let's go 7 years from now. Okay, so you're talking about 2030 or somewhere around there, and even though Zack would be in his 60s, he's still young at heart. I would much rather be like, no, we didn't get a Justice League 2, but you know what? There's different people running the studio, and they actually allowed him to do a Dark Knight Returns adaptation.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Complete new fucking. There's a new. He's got a new Batman. He's got a new Superman. It's just so fucking different than what's going on right now. Like, dude, imagine that. Like, I'd much rather see his adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns than to go and for him to get freedom, because it'd be new people at the studio and all that, and everything would be different, than to go to try to force this studio that doesn't even know what the fuck they're doing to try to make me work with him in the next 5 years. Like, it's so fucking weird. I'd be like, no, dude, fucking start over, man. Let's just get rid of that shit.
Well, like, I don't know how, like, because there is a Stone Quarry can make a ton of stuff. And so Zack doesn't have to direct those. Just League 2 and 3, they can still happen under him or with his plan. And we'll also get other stories, like 300 Rise of the Empire it's not 300, but it's good. And so it's not totally mutually exclusive, but for every movie Zack directs, that's another movie that he's not directing.
Well,
and so like I would love to see Justice League 2 and 3, but also, like, if he directs Justice League 2 and 3, then what are we seeing? Like, what are we not getting to see because of that? And you look at, like, think about back up until 6 months ago. When was the last time you heard of, like, a new Zack Snyder project? I mean, Army of the Dead was, like, in production, but think about all the interviews and stuff we have. He's like, oh yeah, I've been talking about, like, we've got this female protagonist sci-fi franchise. I don't think it's just a single movie. It sounds like a series.
No, he's pitching a franchise to Netflix. Netflix.
Exactly. And then you've got all of the Army of the Dead stuff, and then you've got
King Arthur.
You've got whatever the King Arthur thing is going to be, and
maybe that's going to be with Fox. I don't know.
And you've got the Greek mythology.
Who the fuck
show.
owns that? I don't know.
Anyway, the point is, like, there's all this Snyder stuff that's coming out, and it's so exciting to, like, most Snyder fans don't even know what it means, because so many people I don't want to say, like, jumped on the bandwagon, but, like, he just didn't have that kind of visibility before the DC stuff. Like, when, like, just because it gave him so much attention. The Snyder Cut obviously, like, really galvanized all these people around him, but the nature of having more, like, potential Snyder projects having been mentioned in the last 6 months than existed period up to this point. I mean, we've got Sucker Punch is the only original movie.
I know. I was gonna say, imagine him talking about Sucker Punch now.
Yeah,
like, dude, it would be looked at so fucking differently.
Yeah,
like, dude, period.
And so the idea of, like, and he makes, I love his adaptations, but man, the idea of him just cutting loose and making a ton of stuff, that I can't not want to see that.
Exactly.
That future.
And another thing I wanted to bring up too, like when I'm talking about restore the SnyderVerse, going to Joe, talking about Deathstroke. I mean, on JusticeCon when I was talking to him, he talked about how he was referencing Chris Nolan and he was referencing Tom Hardy's Bane when it came to his Deathstroke. I mean, one of the things I took from that was the fact that, well, what if people don't really exactly like that? I mean, he's trying to like go like bare bones. It's going to be like this, this espionage thriller kind of thing. And Slade doesn't even have like super abilities. It's very much grounded. And, his take on that, I mean, comparing it to Tom Hardy's Bane, like he referenced that. I'm just kind of wondering, like, would people have like been, well, does that really fit? I mean, do you think people would have really just are people going to be okay with that? I mean, as much as we want that, like a lot of people are saying, Deathstroke, HBO Max. I'm just kind of wondering, like, when we actually, if we were actually to get that in, when it correlates to restore the SnyderVerse, I mean, are people going to be like, well, I wouldn't think like the Deathstroke that's taken on Bat for like 20 years into it is going to be like that.
Well, and that's what I asked him. As I said, there's like 3 different Deathstroke things that people are talking about. There's the Nightmare Deathstroke in Justice League 2. There's the Affleck movie where Deathstroke fights Batman, and there's the prequel series. Which one of those would be like your priority? And he didn't even hesitate.
Not at all.
Series, HBO Max, and so that I don't want to say that's like contradictory or antithetical to the SnyderVerse in any way, but it's not a. It could help push it forward in the sense that like it expands one of those characters. But I think something about the numbers and like the trending with 1.5 million tweets and all of that. I think something that's really key about kind of where this kind of effort stands right now, as opposed to like where we were with like the Snyder Cut. It's like I was saying with the numbers, they know what the numbers are, and it either justifies it or it doesn't. But like, let's say the numbers justify it, and it's just like a PR issue, or it's just a matter of convincing them that the from whatever it is that's stopping them from doing it. That is not something that they're going to be like brute forced convinced into doing with like the hashtag events and all that is all good, and the visibility is all good. But at this point, the fact that like, especially with Sarnoff saying like, no, it's done, you're talking about a grind. Like this, they're not going to say like, it's not going to trend with 5 million tweets, and they're not going to say, you know what, we changed our mind. What's going to happen is, or what's going to need to happen at this point, for me, in my mind, for them to change their mind, is that what I always said, that like the movie would speak for itself. Like the Snyder Cut itself is what would restore the SnyderVerse or not. And what that means is like it had this huge positive reception. And so now, like, what's the next step? Well, now we wait for Suicide Squad. And then when Suicide Squad comes out, because you know what's going to happen, people are going to compare it to what Snyder was doing. And so you're going to get reviews that are either going to say like, well, this was exciting and shows a bright new opportunity from Snyder, or as you're seeing with a surprising number of people after Snyder's Justice League saying like, this was good, but you kind of want to see where this other stuff was going now. And then what, we got a long time until The Flash. And so like really WB is committed to their new, and like, we'll hear about this pretty soon, I think, to their like new plan, whatever that is, and so regardless of the opportunity of Justice League 2 and 3, they're going to be committed to proving that plan before they like change their mind. And so that means like Suicide Squad coming out, and then The Flash and Black Adam probably. And if those can convince audiences, like if they can have big successes with those, then it's done. If the reviews for those are like, this is cool, but I still want to see that, that's what's going to keep it alive. It's obvious that they're ignoring the numbers, they're ignoring the trending, they're ignoring the whatever.
Oh yeah, but even then though, let's just say that Warner Brothers was like, you know what, let's go ahead and do Deathstroke HBO Max. Dude, that doesn't guarantee that Zack's coming back for Justice League 2. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, like,
but yeah, that can be its own thing, and like even
But my point though is that it's like, these people don't know what they want. Like, dude, you're not going to sit there just because you get one thing doesn't automatically mean Zach's coming back. You get what I mean?
No,
like that's
no.
all I'm saying.
Well, even if Ben Affleck were like, you know what, even though like apparently he's signed on already like 8 times. No, the fact that like if he were to come back and do his story and be like, you know what, I want to do this, and that's going to be my send off. Like I'm going to do the Flash. I'm going to do my story, HBO Max. Let's make it into either a 2-part series or a fucking mini series. Does that mean that the SnyderVerse is restored? No, that just could mean that it could mean that Ben Affleck just wants to come back and do the script that he worked on for a long time and said, and I fine tuned it and let's just do it. I want to go out with a bang with this character because I love this character.
Jeff gave up his rights,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he took all the Jeff Johns shit out.
Yeah.
I wonder how many like jokes and shit. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I hear you talk to Fish. Yeah.
Although apparently most of the jokes were added by Berg.
Yeah.
But
there was even more that people know. Jesus Christ. Oof. They were like feeding, like they were just on set, just feeding, like, hey, maybe he should say this and blah blah blah. And it's just like what? Like seriously, just stupid shit. Like because we know that the Flash didn't have the Flash name, obviously, in Justice League, and apparently there was a recommendation of, hey, Barry should say this. And it was like, come on, really? He's going to say that? Yeah. Just stuff like that, that they wanted to inject into specifically Barry because he was the comic relief, which he is. And the way that he is in Zack Snyder's Justice League, perfect. Fine. But they wanted to go like what they did in Joss Whedon, talking about brunch and shit. I like brunch, by the way. I thought, it's good.
You fucking would, man.
What is brunch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's basically lunch.
Nah, it's breakfast. Come on.
It is. That's the thing I hate about that line the most. I think is not like it's eating breakfast. There's so many problems with it, but like most of all, like brunch is not basically lunch at all.
But you also don't ever just wait in line for an hour. Like what the fuck?
No, brunch is eating breakfast just before noon. That's what it is.
Well, there is some stuff. There is some brunch stuff that is like more like you'll get like
somebody.
You'll get like a sandwich made with French toast.
Yeah,
like
it's delicious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, somebody
like Jack in a Box for the longest time literally had something called the brunch burger. It was fucking delicious. Okay. It had bacon on it. It had a hash brown in it. It was amazing.
Dude, the bar across the street from where I went to school had a horseshoe
street.
Yeah, no, it was like across the street from for college.
Okay.
Had a the horseshoe, and
someone was paying attention. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
It was a double cheeseburger with nacho cheese on it and a fried egg and bacon in between two grilled cheese sandwiches. Each side of the bun was a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah, so good, man.
Yeah, I had one once. I think it was amazing, but like one of those things that you have.
That was part of the brunch burger at Jack in the Box. A fried egg also with a hash brown and a burger, bacon, and all this stuff. It's like
it just sounds like a heart attack, man.
Yeah,
Nothing
wrong with that.
Every now and again you can have that, but no.
I might have had like onion rings on it or something too. It was insane.
Oh. That's too much. That's just a side right there.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, when it comes to restore to the SnyderVerse, if Ben decides to go, hey, you know what, fuck it, let's do my shit, fine. That's gonna be good, but does that mean that's part of the SnyderVerse restored? The Ayer cut releasing, which I think is a no-brainer. I think we can all agree that's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't they do that? Because, obviously they got the Suicide Squad coming out, and I know there's like a little bit of a conflict right there. I get that. Maybe they should do it. I always thought release it before and then market it with, hey, we got this, and then guess what's coming out? We got 2 Suicide Squads, 2 different Suicide Squad movies that you can watch. Cool. Or release it after. I don't know.
There's going to be a bump of people watching the original before the Suicide Squad comes out anyway. Like you look at when Zack Snyder's Justice League released, the Weeden Cut jumped way up in the charts also.
Yeah.
Like all of those initial numbers that came out, it was like Zack Snyder's Justice League was like number 1 or 2 on iTunes or whatever, and then the Weeden Cut was like number 7.
Yeah, and it was funny too because people were like, "Why is this still on the streaming on HBO Max?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't it be?" People want to compare. That's like they're still getting a lot of views.
It's a cultural event.
Fucking right? Yeah. People want to like watch that and then go back and go, "Oh my god, look at this piece of shit that's been made in 2 hours." It's horrible,
I love every once in a while I still see someone on Twitter trying to claim that the Weeden Cut is better.
Oh my god,
it's so funny. It used to be frustrating, as we all know, about being like, why don't people like BVS? Rah, rah, rah. But like now seeing people be like, well, the Joss Whedon Cut, at least it was snappy, or at least it was like whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm not even mad. It's just funny.
Yeah,
you're just fucking embarrassing yourself.
I mean, the last time we had a live watch. I mean, that was the last time I watched it. I am so scared to just go back and watch, but I might do it just for maybe I'll just do a video or something like that, just to see like just to compare it. But I'm scared.
I tried to watch just the scene with the mother boxes to compare.
Oh my
to
god.
to the panning. We're not 5, we're 6. To compare that to the I was crunching the numbers.
No. You compared it to the
what Steve Trevor
said?
Yeah.
Steve Trevor tell you that.
Man, and everything about that scene is so like, because they walk in and then like Flash like speeds up to the top of that tower, and then Aquaman like steals a set of pliers and put them in his pocket. Yeah, and they say it's the Batcave, but it's actually the thing. And like none of them look like they're like, none of them care. None of them look like they're on the same set. The dialogue is bad. Like you've got
no. And then Cyborg's like, yeah, the night Superman died, it lit up like Christmas. It's like, what?
Yeah. Exactly, but it's funny because the dialogue is written to be like more snappy, but you've still got Ray performing everything very monotone, which is great. Like the characterization is fine, but to have him be like, it lit up like Christmas, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then I think the most ridiculous part was the because in the whole like turn smoke into a house thing is a little bit like, I feel like delivery or editing could make that be like weird or dumb or whatever, but it works because there's this momentum going into that scene, and so you're not thinking, it's not the point isn't to like, they're not stressing that's just a thing they say. It's not like a foundational
to understand.
Yeah. Whereas in the Whedon one, Batman is like, it could power an entire planet, but what if you were stronger than a planet? Like, what is it? What if you're?
Oh my god!
Where are you going with this?
I know. But even like, in like Zach's version, it's like the way that, I mean, this goes back to that whole, the way that everything pans. I love the fact that it just kind of zeroes in on like each of the characters saying their thing, and then you even have Aquaman, who's like, we know that he's just like this big, he's just like this big guy, this big brooding guy, and he goes, and he's even going, holy shit. I mean, he sits down on the table and kind of just like, oh wait, we can actually fucking do this, holy shit. And then Bruce goes, oh wait, yes, this is the way it works. Like he sets it up for Bruce. I love how that, just the way that with the dialogue and the way the camera is focusing on the certain characters, even though Aquaman, is he gonna, I mean, if Arthur, is he really gonna know like a lot of the stuff? I mean, he's that person, he's that character within the group, but just the way that scene goes, and but like you said, when oh god damn it, I can't even, I'm gonna end up doing it just because I want to do it and torture myself.
I've done it. That scene was the only scene I cared about doing it for, just because that was the one that was like the big, like the weird, like you could have, I guess tonally speaking, you couldn't have necessarily, the tone would be so weird to have the original one in there. And then the other joke that I always made about that is like, I can imagine based on the way they shot that, you give Weeden that raw footage and you're just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Like these spinning 5 different angles of the same scene. What do I do with that?
Well, and also you have a black actor telling about the story with his black father. Weeden was like, nah.
No.
Mm.
I don't remember. I forgot.
Yeah, it
We're
happens.
gone. Well,
No,
what,
but
if, what if you could turn a thought into smoke?
Yeah. Jesus.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna end up doing it just to fucking torture myself, I think. But
And by the way, is there anything coming up on HBO Max in the next couple of weeks? Like big movies, right?
well, I mean, they got that new series with Kate Winslet that just came out. Apparently, I've heard good things. It's a series, right? I think.
Yeah, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
What is the next big Snyder Cut, Godzilla versus Kong,
Mortal
and
Kombat,
Mortal Kombat were the
yeah.
3 like big
Yeah.
ones.
And then you got Suicide Squad in July or June.
I think
Is
Suicide
it July?
Squad is the next one. But
August, I thought.
I thought it was August.
Oh, yeah,
August
August.
6th.
Shit.
August 6th.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I mean, we're in like the fucking heart of the summer blockbuster
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, Army of the Dead, Netflix.
Well, yeah,
Right.
we're just talking about HBO. We're talking about.
I know.
HBO Max.
I know, but I'm saying like that's
Yeah.
the next thing on my radar.
Oh yeah, well
Um,
of course that's
But
in all our
those
radars.
Who Wish Me Dead and The Conjuring,
Well, The Conjuring, yeah, looks good, but
and
I mean,
The
that's a
Heights,
specific genre, though.
Space Jam.
oh god, that's
Yeah, so we've got Those Who Wish Me Dead on May 14th, The Conjuring on June 4th. Man, Zack Snyder's Justice League, or not Zack Snyder, Army of the Dead is going to clown all over anything on HBO Max
I mean, like
in
I'm not
May and
excited
June.
for Space Jam. I'm not excited. But it's
I like the original Space Jam.
so do I.
I haven't cared about the NBA for years. I don't care about LeBron James, so I guess maybe that's a big part of it. But
Well,
man,
he kind of screwed up a little bit recently. I mean, he had to delete a tweet, but we won't get into that because that's.
Oh, did he?
Oh yeah,
I don't even know what happened.
that? Yeah, it's just all the stuff that's happening, in the real world. And he decided to go, "Hey, you're next to something," and then deleted it and went, "Oops." Yeah.
Someone with millions of followers probably shouldn't tweet out pictures of individuals and claim you're next.
So I almost feel sorry for that person because I mean, there's a debate about certain things that happened but a lot of people kind of.
I gotta know who's the person. Like,
well, whether I think it was another cop. I think
it was a cop.
Oh,
It's a whole
okay.
16-year-old.
okay.
I don't
okay.
whether or not. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even there's there's due process to follow there,
Yeah.
not just because
Just
even
because
if
it's that. Yeah.
like, you don't want to inspire anyone to take
very touchy subject.
vigilante actions or.
But at the same time, it's like, you see they literally, like, when people were demanding the body cam footage, they said, "Hey, here it is. Look what it shows." And everybody kind of went, "Oh, that's not good." But then LeBron James kind of went, "Hey," and kind of put a target on someone's back a little bit.
That's fucked up.
When
dude.
he should not have done that.
Well, I mean,
he deleted it.
Well, he also deleted it because, like, that's obviously, Twitter is a little flexible on that because, like, Trump didn't get his Twitter suspended forever, but like that's against terms and services. You're next. Yeah. Oh man, you better believe that is a suspendable
target. Yeah,
that's a suspendable
threat. A full-on threat.
That is a threat of violence.
Yes,
so
you could easily be like, I would get suspended off Twitter for saying that.
Oh yeah. So that's why I'm kind of going, oh man, you probably might have killed some of the fucking people that might have went to your movie, but at the same time, I'm like, who the hell is actually excited for Space Jam 2? When I heard that there was going to be a Space Jam 2 with LeBron, I thought it was a joke. I was like, oh, that's not going to really happen.
It's weird because it's one of those ones where there's a part of me that is full blown like expecting it to bomb, but also I'm fully aware that outside of a pandemic,
it could do.
I would not like. I would expect it to bomb, but I would not be shocked if it hit $1 billion. Like it's one of those things where it's like,
yeah.
And that sounds like flip floppy, but but for real, it's like one of those things that like, oh yeah, I guess that would, even though it should bomb. I don't know. I guess people are excited.
Interesting.
crazy. We got Malignant coming too. That's crazy.
Oh, that's right. That's James Wan, right?
Because
Yeah.
James Wan, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
although that's the one that what I heard was that
Was
at
really
one of the
bad.
one of the early test screenings, it
Yeah.
got like I think they turned it off because people like laughed it off the screen. But
Jesus.
That
from what
intrigues me. That intrigues me.
well,
though.
it does because
I'm like,
what I said when that started going around and people were yeah, we're stupid, right? Who's dumb enough to do that? Yeah, because it started going around and people were like, "Oh, it sounds real bad." And it's like, if you know anything about like how test screenings work, and you know about how early it is in the process, like Malignant is about a guy with he's got like a evil like malignant twin, and at the time of that test screening, it would be a very early rough cut without final effects, without final music, and so therefore like whatever they're doing for the twin part would be like incomplete, and so it'd be like watching Venom where Venom isn't even animated yet.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's a I would, unless James Wan like wanted it, I would consider it like a crime to screen that version at all for audience opinion. To be like, watch a movie about a malignant twin, but the malignant twin is going to be incomplete VFX the whole time. So you're just going to watch like a dude clown around and look like an idiot on screen. Like, of course, people are going to laugh that off. Like, regardless of actual that feedback is going to be useless to them. And you know,
well, I mean, I think
James Wan is fully capable of turning out something from that.
But that's kind of part of the process, I guess. And then, you know, Carrie actually brought up a good point. I keep forgetting that A Quiet Place 2 is actually, I mean, this is not Warner,
Well, yeah.
of course, but I keep forgetting that movie is still coming out. I mean, that was my favorite movie of that year I love the original. I mean, and I'm fucking very curious.
Is that a Universal or Sony film?
I think it's Universal, right? I think it's Universal. I'm pretty sure it's.
I'm just wondering on when it's going to be coming out in theaters.
Yeah,
I mean, on streaming.
I mean, that trailer, like, I mean, my God.
I mean, it looks cool. It looks good, but
to see the backstory of what happened and the fact that it's like, hey, we can have John Krasinski in here, like we could do it like this, and I mean, but that opening like. One shot, literally a fucking what's her name, just like backing up and like driving the car, like when she sees it, and then she just goes in reverse, and it's literally just one fucking cut. And I'm like, that's how you do. That's some fucking filmmaking right there, man. Jesus Christ, man. And then of course you have what's his name, Cillian Murphy, yeah, showing up in that thing. My God, it's gonna be great. But guys, we should probably wrap this up. I think we're tired. Yeah, I saw Garza kind of yawning a little bit. So.
Yeah, I've been yawning, man.
He's been yawning as he's looking through his Tinder. Anyways,
it's been good though. Like it's
no. See, that's the thing. It's like I love the fact that we can, you know, we this is what it's all about. I mean, I love the fact that Paul came on, gave his 2 cents. I mean, I saw some hate thrown at Paul when he was like, Mortal Kombat fucking sucked. He threw it out there and I went, ooh, I'm like, all right, I'll talk about the things I mean, but overall, I'm like, I didn't think it was terrible. The Cole stuff, which is of course the main part of the thing. It's Paramount. There you go. Paramount. That's what Carrie said. Paramount. You know, it is what lacks. Everything, you know, a lot of other things too. I mean, we can go on a whole spoiler fucking discussion about Mortal Kombat, like we almost kind of did. But you know, sadly, you know, geez, man. I mean, it's such a
hashtag, you know, do justice for Goro, man. Like, come on.
Yeah, I did not like what they built it up, because literally, I mean, this goes back to that scene where I said you literally have Shang Tsung and a bunch of people walking in Outworld. They're dirty. It's like, what happened? And then Melina walks up. She's got blood on her face. It's like, what happened? And then you see like this shot that pans out. It's like a big Goro statue that shows. I'm like, well, that's cool.
Like, oh, okay. Well, what are we doing?
What the fuck?
Like, no, you don't get to find out.
Oh my God.
That's for the next season, I guess. What the fuck, man?
Man, I mean, yeah. It's like there's things that are like, oh, you nailed it, Kung Lao.
But again,
I
listen,
fucking love
dude.
Kung Lao. I love Kung Lao in this. He has the best fatality. He has the best fatality in this
Absolutely.
movie.
But dude, listen.
What he does,
I'm
I
not-
literally went, yes, they did it. They did what I wanted them to do with Kung Lao.
I'm not saying that people need to jock ride Zach, but goddamn, dude, they could have easily had a history lesson of a Mortal Kombat series to where if they were going to end it the way they did end it, they could have at least gotten away with, well, we still had a Mortal Kombat. We showed you Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and like I was saying with the well, you're saying Zach, but I mean, really, when I think of history lesson, I always go back to
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, and you think about that as an example because, like, even Return of the King didn't give you Sauron slaying just hordes of elves with his mace, and so that's something you were able to get in that scene, though, and so that it's such a. The fact that that's not a mechanism that they would use when they already have the lore being that way is like, no, like literally all bets are off. Like you can just do something with Goro. You do something with
dude, easily.
Yeah.
Like I said, Shao Kahn.
So much there. I mean, okay. I mean, if
now we're back here again.
I know we are because it's
Sorry.
so frustrating because you could just tell they're just like, let's just get this out. It's Mortal Kombat. It's an IP. But it's like, get somebody that can actually flesh this fucking thing out and make it an epic. Make it something like Lord of the Rings or, make it something like Zack Snyder's Justice League, do something.
Dude, you easily could have.
They can. There's so much there. There's so much mythology. There's so much lore, as everybody keeps throwing around, lore and, as well as the gore, It's like, God damn it, man. That's what I was really hoping for. And then, of course, when we got the runtime, I was like, all right, that's not.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I heard that, I was like, God damn it, dude.
Yeah, and I was like, straight to the point. All right.
Yeah.
But if this movie's successful, maybe, and they listen to the cries of a lot of people, like, all right, now let's do the rest of these movies and let's really dive into all of this.
But like even with runtime, like I was saying, like 300 is an hour, like what hour
50 minutes,
hour 50,
hour 50. Yeah,
it's the shortest film, right?
And like look at, and it's not exactly lacking for lore either.
No.
It's got a sense, and that's why I was talking about like it's got to know what it is when it from conception, and it feels like this movie did not intend to be as short as it was when it was written, and as a result, it was harder to make it that after the fact. But like you could have had just embrace the Mortal Kombat concept with a tournament and whatever, and done that. You could do that. It's a good 90-minute movie. I think there could be a phenomenal 90-minute Mortal Kombat movie if you engineered it that way. But if you're going to do the whole, like, here's Outworld and here's all this stuff, well, no, you're going to need to take a step back then and give me something a little bit more substantial.
Well, if you're going to do like a 90-minute like Mortal Kombat movie that's strictly tournament, then just have the characters, have their shit, and just go balls out.
Yeah, don't give backstories
Because what you do is you have an announcer or someone do it. Like each person shows up and they're like, "Oh, it's Luke Cage. Here's why he's."
He said Luke Cage.
I mean, you do the it's Luke Cage. Sorry, obviously it's late.
Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
Do the Suicide Squad dossier cut version of it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, but even then, like even Avery was like, "Oh, another backstory." Like she was just like, "Oh, I need to know about this other backstory." And I was like, because she was understanding that they're not. They wanted to give that to us, but they didn't. You know what I mean? Like it's like they were just like, well, we're just gonna give you a little background, but then that's it. Let's just fucking sorry. But dude, you could have given so much exposition in the Mortal Kombat tournament, the last one, previous one. Why is there starting a new one?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like Liu Kang should have been the fucking main. I mean, he's all.
He was a great actor.
Yeah. To me, Liu Kang was always like the main guy when it came to this universe. I mean, obviously, when it came to the first one, I mean, when you start playing Mortal Kombat 2, they literally give a backstory that shows like Liu Kang won the tournament, the previous tournament, but Shao Kahn was like, "Fuck that shit! I'm still gonna invade. I'm still gonna try to do some shit," and So I mean, that's just. I think Liu Kang's. and I remember hearing about the director, writer, or whatever. They kept on saying like, oh, like we didn't want to have a white guy being the lead of this movie, so we came up with Cole. It's like, well, you could have just made Cole Johnny Cage if you wanted to do that, because he's essentially that, or you could have
literally made him his lineage and just gone that route. Like, what the fuck?
Or it's just like, you know,
what's wrong with a not white Johnny Cage?
Exactly. I don't think what was wrong with that. I mean, you can have an Asian Johnny Cage who's a movie star and blah blah blah. Like, come on, you could have done that. And that's where I just kind of went, why? All right, but you know, who knows? We can talk about it nonstop about it. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And let's go around the horn, which is just 3 of us today.
Yeah.
Steven,
Nice.
Steven. Yeah. It'll be quick today.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight.
Yeah. We're signing off.
Yes.
By the way, cool. Steven, I like the fact that, you know, like your microphone has like this fucking like sheen. It has a sheen coming off, like a light little like sheen.
For some reason I've got everything is like maybe my lens has a little something on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you
look at you can see like on my hair here too. I've got like.
I'm like, did one of your kids like fucking like wipe this? Yeah, but it's kind of cool. Like your microphone had like a little sheen.
Oh look, I got a little lens flare back there on that light.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah. Stephen Colbert. You can find me at SM Colbert on Twitter. You can find the Snyder Minute podcasts at SnyderMinute.com. That includes Just League by the Minute and BVS by the Minute. You can also find my writing at ScreenRant.com. I have a huge Army of the Dead set visit breakdown.
Oh, okay.
Go check that out. I've got some more interviews coming up in the next week or so, and more percolating for May. So it's going to be a fun, it's going to be a real fun month for Snyder fans. So keep an eye out for all that.
There it is, Garza.
Man, you know what? I'm going to be rolling solo for fucking 4 episodes. Man, Ben's going on vacation.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. So be on the lookout when I send y'all fucking messages, okay? Because I can't do this shit by myself. I'm just saying.
Hey, so, man, if you need help, just reach out, man. I'll help. I'll be your co-host.
Yeah, you can follow me down here, right there. You know, whatever.
That's it. There it is. Man, a few words. All right. So, you guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Hit the like, thumbs up. Before you leave. Oh man, 7 dislikes. How dare you? It's okay. It's fine.
That's because I didn't do my social experiment when I joined.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you forgot.
Oh well.
It was a slow night in general.
Yeah. It felt like it, right? Yeah. But of course, subscribe and do all the stuff. If you want to become a member, hit the join button. We got the Patreon too, if you want to help out the pirate ship. And thank you to Jason who joined tonight. Jason McKenzie, thank you, sir. And thank you guys for watching the pre-show when I interviewed of course Mr. Lawson and Miss McNamee. I think that's how you say her last name. That was of course a lot of fun. Thank you guys for doing that. And pretty much that's it, guys. We will talk to you later. Thank you to Paul Shirey. Am I saying his last name right?
Shirey? Yeah.
Shirey. Okay. Because I was like wondering, I was like, am I saying Shirey? Yeah, you know.
I said Shirey until I met him at the set visit, and he said, I'm second guessing myself. Pretty sure he said Shirey. He said it earlier in the podcast when he signed.
Yeah, I think he said Shirey, and I said Shirey. Man. Yeah. You say tomato, I say tomato. You know how it is. But it's okay because everybody always says my last name is Penna. It's fine. All right, guys.
Davis.
Yeah. We all that, and everybody calls you Colbert. So
yeah.
Even Joe said that when you showed up, you're like Stephen Colbert, and I was like, I almost wanted to correct it. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. It's already been kind of rough. Yeah.
Actually, before we sign off, since embargo is lifted, I can finally tell this story. When I was in Atlantic City for Army of the Dead, everything is shut down there, but they had the movie going on, and my reservation at the hotel was under Netflix. And so when I showed up to check in,
right.
they look at the computer and they're like, "Oh, you're Stephen Colbert," and I was like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Oh, we you here for are you working on the movie, or are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm here for I'm just visiting the set." And they're like, "Okay, because they're not like, you're not the other Stephen Colbert." And I was like, "No, I get that a lot though." And they're like, "Okay," and like messed with the computer for like a long time. And then they called someone over and they're like, "You know what? Don't worry about it." And they were like, "Yeah, we didn't know. We thought maybe it was the other Stephen Colbert because there's there's a movie in town." And I was like, "Yeah, sorry." And then I went up and I was in like the penthouse at the top of the hotel, and like and so I was like, wow, Netflix is like going all out. And then after dinner the last night, everyone got in the elevator and we're going up back to our rooms, and everyone was getting off at like lower floors than me, until like eventually it was like, it might have been like me and Sean O'Connell or whoever, like the last two in the elevator, and then he gets off, and then I go up like 3 more floors, and then all of a sudden it clicked. I was like, they thought that because my name was under like Netflix, they were like, Stephen Colbert is coming to our hotel, so they pre-assigned the penthouse. And then when I checked in, it was they were having trouble unassigning it. And they're like, you know what, no one's using it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like,
that's got to be the coolest thing, dude. Like, yeah,
Shirey.
like because you knew they were probably like, well, we can't give them we can't do it now. And they were like, yeah, but we're gonna have to go through all this shit, and we can't even give them a real room. Like, we can't just.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe I doubt the others were. And anyway, but it was
because at the end of the day, you were still there for a film. So like,
yeah. Up until that point, the best thing I've ever gotten from my name was a discount at IHOP. But I'm pretty sure that my name got me that room. So
Yeah. Nice.
Must
anyway,
be nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently Dice is saying I blew it because it's actually Shirey. So
Shirey.
Shirey. Yeah, see, there it is right there. But again, people always pronounce my name as Penna. So it's okay.
Yeah.
We all, it's just what happens. Okay, Dice. Okay, Dice. All right. Anyways.
Speaking of my name, someone just pointed out that that our podcast is Stephen Colbert and Andrew Dice. Not Stephen Colbert and Andrew Dice Clay. And I was like, nobody has ever pointed that out before.
There it is.
So
that's true.
So
See?
now, greatest closing to an episode ever. Like, just
that's what it is.
Languishing. It's because Scott's not here.
Yeah, exactly. This is how we close it off when Scott's not here. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later.